It's one of the oldest races in America, a one-of-a-kind race for 3-year-old fillies. The only race run at a 1.25 mile distance in this division. And through its history, it has defined excellence. With the leader of this division opting to take on the boys next Saturday in the Travers, this year's edition is wide open. 6 stakes winners will line up, including 2 for Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher in search of his 5th victory in this prestigious Grade 1. Welcome to the 144th edition of the Alabama on Fox. Welcome to Fox Saratoga Saturday here at Saratoga Springs in upstate New York. This is paradise for horse racing fans, the sport's most historic venue. And it's at this point in this 40-day get-together where things start to get much, much more serious for 3-year-olds. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Wolf. Great to have you with us for one of the true heavyweight races of the year, arguably the most important race for 3-year-olds in the country. It dates back over 140 years, and this year's edition features 4 graded stakes winners. Let's meet the field for this year's Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. 8 will line up, 2 for Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher, who's going to try and win a 5th Alabama. Of course, noticeably missing the leader of the division, Torpedo Anna. She'll be tackling the boys next weekend. We'll have more on that in just a moment. With me, one of the winningest trainers in the history of the sport, Tom Amos, New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling, champion jockey Richard Migliori. Andy, what is the historical significance of this Alabama?
Well, in Saratoga, where champions are crowned and made every summer, really, no race epitomizes that more than the Alabama. 144th running of the race, 27 champions, 12 Hall of Famers, and a race run at the demanding distance of 10 furlongs in the dirt, the only Grade 1 for 3-year-old fillies at that distance.
10 furlongs, 1.25 miles, and an opportunity for these 8 fillies, these 3-year-old fillies, to really come in, and if they can get it established, if they can win this big race today, it not only puts a lot of money in their bankroll, but off the racetrack as mamas later in life, they are valued.
And for Candied, it's an opportunity to step out of the enormous shadow cast by Torpedo Anna, the leader of this division. She's already a Grade 1 winner. She's an ultra-consistent performer, but she was a distant second to Torpedo Anna in the Coaching Club American Oaks. With her not running here, gives Candy an opportunity to add to her resume.
She is the 7-5 morning line favorite, one of 2 in the race for Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher. You can play all the action today, this Alabama. Play with us all summer long and beyond by playing with NYRA Bets, the official betting app of Saratoga. Get a $50 free bet. Use the promo code GET50 and bet on any track, anywhere. Sign up at nyrabets.com/get50 for that $50 free play. So Todd Pletcher, he'll try and win a 5th Alabama this afternoon. He's won a couple recently, with 2 went on to become champions. Let's go to Maggie Wolfendale for more.
Today, Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher will look to win his 5th Grade 1 Alabama, and in the past he has produced 3-year-old champions Nest and Malathat to take down this historic race. Today he'll send out 2 runners, including the up-and-comer Miss Justify. This will be her first try in graded stakes company, as she easily took down a field in the Wilton Stakes, going the mile earlier on in the meet. Last year, the Alabama winner randomized. She took the same path to victory. So Miss Justify looking to emulate that winner from last year. But she will take on some tough company. And for a new shooter, let's check in with Acacia Clement.
Well, Maggie, one of the best things about these big races here at Saratoga is that we always have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the great stories behind these horses and where they come from. For Just Basking, she's carrying the hopes and dreams of her breeders along the way. For the brother-sister team of Andrew Schwartz and Wendy Gilder, Just Basking, now a stakes winner and heading to the Alabama starting gate this afternoon. She's here behind me at the Bond Barn, where she shipped in for trainer Ian Wilkes and going one step closer to making dreams come true, Greg.
Acacia, thank you. That's a look at last year's Alabama winner. Went from the Wilton to the Alabama, scoring the upset for Chad Brown at Klarovich Stables. Look at today's action on Fox, presented by Claiborne Farm. Not just the Grade 1 Alabama, but the Lake Placid Stakes presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Grade 2 on the lawn for 3-year-old fillies. That'll be race 9. Some big names in here, including the favorite from last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf for trainer Cherie DeVoe. She Feels Pretty, who came back in her first start of her 3-year-old campaign. She was dominant in a stakes race at Pimlico, Tom.
She was so dominant that she really didn't have to be ridden all that hard at the end of the race. When you're taking a field on like that and you look at a horse like She Feels Pretty, it's a horse that I think has gotten better at 3.
And I think it's important to note that we've had some rain this week, and the turf course has what we call some give in the ground. It's not a super firm course. The turf isn't. It's labeled good, but it has some give, and that big win at Pimlico was on a course not dissimilar to the one she's running on today.
I've always been of the opinion that lighter framed horses do better on courses with give in it. They don't dig down into the turf as much. They tend to skip over the top of the ground a little bit, and she kind of fits the bill for me in that department.
Fast on the main track, labeled good today, to Andy's point, on that turf course. That is race 9. We kick things off, though, with race 6. This over the inner turf, mile and a 16th. New York bred company. And an allowance race where right now it's better lucky than good. One of the top barns in the country. Christophe Clement trains this one, and a man who's already on the board this afternoon with the victory. Dylan Davis got his 22nd winner of the meet. This horse right here, though, Andy, expected to take plenty of attention. Call me Harry.
He probably should be favored in this race. He's been facing much, much better horses. He could be the speed over the number 3 Laurel Valley, and he is the horse to beat. But in my opinion, there's 4 horses coming out of the same race. The 2, the 5, the 6, and 7. And they're betting the 6 and 7. It's the 2 and 5 that you want to put your money on.
14 minutes a post here in the 6th. Still to come. Jockey Tyler Gaffleone is having a dream summer at Saratoga, currently second in the standings in the hunt for the meet title. Can he deliver an upset in the Alabama? He'll be aboard the only filly who's beat the best 3-year-old filly in the country, as Intricate seeks her first win since that upset score last November. Next Saturday on Fox Saratoga Saturday, it is the showdown of the summer. The unofficial 4th leg of the Triple Crown and the Super Filly, Torpedo Anna. A chance at history, taking on the boys, including the Belmont Stakes and Haskell winner, Dornick, 2-year-old champion and Kentucky Derby favorite. Fierceness, that is going to be one you do not want to miss. Coverage starts at 3 Eastern on Fox. Race 6, again, mile and a 16th on the turf coming up. Andy, going to make a bet for us.
We got a free $50 play today, and I think the best way to make money with it is to take the current 12-1 in the number 5 Rough Draft. As I mentioned before, one of 4 horses coming out of the same race on July 21st. And while he finished 5th that day, I thought he ran extremely well with a very wide trip. And I like Rough Draft in today's 6th race. $50 bet.
4-time winner on the grass, Rough Draft. Right now, 12-1. Let's go back to Maggie for more on this 6th.
And Greg, I do think Rough Draft makes a lot of sense. I agree with Andy that the 2 and the 5 are the ones you want out of that July 21st race. But I'll admit, I've been chasing number 2, Lock and Key, for a bit now. And honestly, this is one of the best times I've seen him. And he's coming out of 2 turf races in which I think he does look like a turf horse, in which he's encountered some trouble. If you go back, he was pinched a little bit at the start of that July 21st race. He kind of raced wide, 3 to wide, mid-pack down the backside, 3 to 4 wide around the turn. Then he had to wait to get clear when trying to launch a rally down the stretch, and picked up some pieces to finish 3rd that day. Like I said, I feel like he's thriving up here at Saratoga. And Greg, he applied those cheek pieces last time out. He'll wear them again. What they act like are a pair of short cup cheater blinkers. They're just those large fuzzy fleece pieces attached to the headstall of the bridle that just add a little bit of coverage so horses can't see directly behind them.
Maggie, thank you. We'll get to the post parade here coming up in just a moment. 8 minutes from a start here in this 6th race, and the board, guys, reflects it. This is a very difficult race to come up with a strong opinion.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on. And listen, I mean, there's different ways of handicapping, and people look at things in very different ways. And Richie and I were talking off camera. Both of us feel the 6 and 7, who are both 3-1, had very, very good trips. Things went their way in the last race, and that's sort of what benefited them in finishing third, second, and fourth. Whereas Rough Trap, the 5, I think more than Richie, the 2 also, were compromised by their trips, and they're bigger prices. So to me, from a value standpoint, the 5 and 2 are just better bets.
3-1 right now on the 7. That is Let's Go Big Blue, George Weaver Barn, Jose Lezcano. There's a man that you'd love to have on your horse in next week's race. Javier Castellano, 7 Travers wins, including last year with Arcangelo Meek.
Remarkable record. Incredible to do that in the Travers Stakes. And I guess he's got the knack for the distance. The 10 furlongs here. Does that bode well for the Alabama today on Power Squeeze?
We will see. We'll start our post parade with Sell Something, long shot from the rail.
Just, sort of showed some improvement switching to Horacio de Paz last year, the trainer, but has not gone on with it this year.
Lock and Key looking for his first win on the turf.
He is, but knocking on the door in his last 3 or 4 could be any time.
Laurel Valley dangerous with his speed.
Has speed, but is he faster early than 4, Call Me Harry?
Call Me Harry, he's coming out of a grade 3 race, much tougher than most in here.
Yeah, much tougher than most, and this would be a drop in class for Call Me Harry.
Rough Draft, Andy's play with Javier Castellano.
I think you've already heard enough about why I like this horse 3 to 4 wide around the racetrack last time.
Better lucky than good. Certainly at the racetrack, that's a good thing to have, a winner 2 back.
He wasn't too lucky last time. He got in some traffic trouble. He's one of our mild co-favorites.
There's Let's Go Big Blue for the George Weaver Barn.
Yeah, this horse enjoyed a very, very good trip last time, stalking the pace, and ran a good second, but I thought it a better trip than some others in the race.
Agent Creed was 4th last time out. Manny Franco rides.
I know this horse well. I've trained him this winter down in New Orleans where he won for me. He's very capable in this spot.
And Maxwell Esquire, big price outside, tried to be forward last start and backed up.
Yeah, he's better really going shorter distances, 6 furlongs, 5.5 furlongs, and he'd be hard-pressed to be effective in this spot.
That was first off a lengthy layoff as well. We'll see if he can improve. Tom, where are you going to wind up?
I wind up on Laurel Valley, the 3 horse. I like Laurel Valley for a number of reasons. I mean, there is some speed in this race, but it's going to be who's going to commit out the gate and want to go to the front. I think we need a commitment from Joel Rosario and the 3 horse Laurel Valley, going to the front, showing the way early, and trying to save enough energy for the end of the race.
Now we're going to check in now, and we're all jealous with Acacia. She's enjoying one of the best views in all of sports right now at the 1863 Club. Where are you going to wind up, Acacia?
I certainly am, Greg. The 7 Let's Go Big Blue, I know it's one of the, but I think that he's sitting on a big race. And just have to say, from up here on the balcony at the 1863 Club, I wish I could stand here more often because you have a bird's eye view of the horses coming out for the post parade and get to see them go off for their warm-ups out on the track. And
just saw a plate of French fries go by that really smell delicious. But as far as Let's Go Big Blue, he's a horse that is kind of a handier type. He's very athletic, though. And from what I saw from him last time to today, I think that he's doing well and hope that this could be the day for him, Greg.
Thank you, Acacia. 3-1 favorite right now. Let's go back to Rough Draft. Again, Andy's selection for the Fernando Abreu barn. 4 for 13 on the turf. And right now, Tom, 9-1.
9-1. That's a tasty price for a horse that's got some value in the fact that, he did not have the best trip last time, Richie, wide around there. And if he gets a cleaner trip from this inside post position, it could make a big difference.
Yeah, I thought Tom also, he was wide last time, but he also felt to me like he made a little bit of a premature move, a middle move, if you will, into a very fast pace. And I think being wide and making that early move took its toll on him the last 1/8 of a mile.
I mean, also just do the math. He was 4 post positions outside of the 7 last time. Now he's 2 inside of him, and he had a much wider trip than the 7 and finished 2 lengths behind him. That post position difference could make a big difference, and you're talking about a horse that's almost 3 times the price of the number 7.
Meanwhile, better lucky than good next door. It's been, look at this crowd, just tremendous. One of the really big days of the meet, and they have packed this house. Here's better lucky than good. Dylan Davis, 22nd win of the meet earlier today. This horse put together back-to-back wins, Mig, and then last time out, how significant was that trouble?
Well, he did have some trouble, and he had to pick his way through traffic, so you've got to weigh out. He got to save ground, so that helps him. The fact that maybe he had to wait for room hurt him. I think Saving Ground wins turf races. I thought he had a decent enough trip. But Dylan Davis has been riding so well. It wouldn't surprise me if he pulled a good trip again
and
today.
I think he got the kind of ride Dylan's been giving. I don't think he had trouble in that race at all. I would love to have switched trips with Rough Draft in that race. I think Rough Draft would have won the race, and Better Lucky Than Good would have finished worse than Rough Draft did.
Now, meanwhile, Call Me Harry, last time out, he was basically facing the equivalent of an NBA player, while the rest of these have been facing college players. Let's go to Maggie for more on Call Me Harry.
Yeah, a grade 1 winner to be exact. Greg and Carl Spackler, who he just last week won our grade 1 4-star Dave. And what I find so fascinating about these races for these second level New York bred races is that a lot of times you'll have horses that have won multiple races, 5, 6 races. And Call Me Harry, he's won 6 races. We're the top 2 choices in here. The 6 and 7 have only won 2. I don't like either of them. They'll beat me in here. But Call Me Harry demands respect. I know his last race wasn't great. He was kind of taken out of his best gig, which is being up front. And while he does face Laurel Valley, who is sharper acting than him going into the gate, Call Me Harry is 8 now. A lot of times they just relax a bit more. He looks far better in his coat. He's much fitter than what I saw him 2 and 3 back. So I think this is the right spot for him. Connections just being realistic. And I think he stalks right outside of Laurel Valley today. Another horse that's getting back in with New York Bred Company for the first time in quite a while is number 8, Agent Creed. I think that's a very big price on a horse that kind of ran a bit free last time, coming off a bit of a break. And I think with that race under his belt, is fitter, is a bit more relaxed here. He's always one that's caught my eyes. A very, very handsome son of Jimmy Creed, and does tend to get a little bit warm. So if you see him hot out there, that's very typical for him. But I'm going to try with my good friend Lock and Key, who I admit, Greg, I've been chasing for a while.
Yeah, Lock and Key, talented on dirt, talented on turf, but trying to get that first win. Meanwhile, there's Manny Franco. And Mig, he's going to be on the favorite in the Alabama. That's Candide. Terrific rider, but this would probably be his biggest win since the Belmont Stakes and Travers with Tiz the Law back in 2020.
Yeah, he wins races in bunches. He's been the leading rider in New York 3 consecutive years in a row for the entire year. And that mostly because he's good, but also he stays year-round in New York, so it kind of pads his statistics. But he's just such a strong, talented rider, heck of a finisher.
And he had been the regular rider of last year's Alabama winner, randomized through the Acorn, was replaced in the Wilton, so maybe they owe him in Alabama. Maybe he'll get it today.
We say all the time on our day-to-day broadcast, too, this is like this jockey colony, the murderer's row of riders. Is this, Mig, as good as it gets in the sport, this group that's assembled here?
This is the deepest colony I can remember in New York since the 80s. What makes this colony even more formidable is the core of it is so young. There were a lot of riders that were maybe on the back 9 of their career that were still great. This is a youthful group here.
Well, no up-and-comer right there. That's Dylan Davis, and he is really making his presence felt. There's the man who's going to call all the action today. Announced New York Racing Association his hiring back in 2023, Frank Miramati. Terrific track announcer, and he got his first opportunity to call a Belmont Stakes earlier this year. Well-deserved. He is perched high above, and that is not, if you've ever been up there, not easy angles to call races from.
If they had a booth that everything was put in front of you, I still couldn't call a race effectively. Up in that Saratoga booth, I don't know how he and any of the other announcers in history have done it as effectively, and Frank has been just sensational this year.
Loading up for the 6th. Did you have a point you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just think we want to watch out of the gate what happens initially. I mean, pace makes the race. So Laurel Valley, the 3, he's got some speed, but he could have some company with Call Me Harry, the 4, or even Agent Creed. Can be tactical if he wants to be. He did it for me in Louisiana. So let's see if Laurel Valley can get away from there and maybe clear a little bit. I'd love to see that.
I think the 4, Call Me Harry, clears the number 3, Laurel Valley, but we'll see what happens.
A lot easier company, as we talked about with that 4 horse on your screen. Call Me Harry faced now a grade 1 winner, Carl Spackler, last time out, but it's been a rough meet for that barn. Rick Dutrow with just 1 win so far. Let's go upstairs. Here's Frank Miramati for the call.
Rough Draft fractures in the gate. Settles down. Now there's a few of them acting up. Better Lucky Than Good in Laurel Valley. Rider jostled off Laurel Valley. Gets back up. Rider is off Better Lucky Than Good.
So that is Dylan Davis. He's the rider for Better Lucky Than Good. They'll back this horse out of the gate. Mig, what's happening here?
Yeah, the examining vet stationed at the gate wants to take a look because the horse thrashed around the gate, make sure he didn't injure himself. Another safety protocol in place here at the New York Racing Association. Looks like everything's all set. Dylan to get a leg back up, and hopefully we'll be on our way.
Meanwhile, everyone else patiently waiting in the starting gate, but relatively quickly, Davis hops back aboard and back in. Let's go back to Frank Miramati.
All set. And they're off. Call Me Harry and Laurel Valley are the first two out of the gate. Let's Go Big Blue is up and on the pace and moving up to claim second. Then it's Agent Creed. And now Laurel Valley is in behind horses and a little bit eager too. In the meantime, Maxwell Esquire moves up on the outside of Rough Draft. Down on the hedge, Lock and Key. Better Lucky Than Good is second to last, and the distant trailer is Sell Something. Around the first turn, Call Me Harry clicked off an opening quarter in 24 seconds flat. Pressed by Maxwell Esquire in second. Let's Go Big Blue tucked in just behind the top pair in third. Laurel Valley has been eager throughout, and he is still tugging very hard at Joel Rosario, taking that third spot an absolute handful. Then Agent Creed on the outside with the pink cap in fifth, just 3 lengths off the lead. Lock and Key is also headstrong. Nowhere to go at this stage for Lock and Key. He wants to get closer. Rough Draft is 3/4 behind him. And Better Lucky Than Good. 48-3. Call Me Harry is the leader. Been there throughout. Maxwell Esquire trying to stay close in second. Agent Creed 3 deep in third. They're followed by Laurel Valley. Let's Go Big Blue in between horses. Rough Draft is starting to launch a bit of a bid. Far outside, Better Lucky Than Good. They're in the final furlong, and Call Me Harry maintains a 2-length lead now. Maxwell Esquire has tried his best. Between horses, Lock and Key is starting to finish strongly, and in the center of the course, Better Lucky Than Good. It's Call Me Harry looking for the line. Lock and Key's coming at him. Call Me Harry all the way. Lock and Key was a very good second. Third, Better Lucky Than Good. Let's Go Big Blue was fourth.
The class of the field prevails. Call Me Harry, been facing much tougher, gets the win with a rider aboard who's the only man not named Ortiz to win this riding title the last 9 years.
And that race was won literally in the first 100 yards out of the gate when Call Me Harry showed intent to go to the lead. And really the only one that could have challenged based on past resume was the 3, Laurel Valley. But Joel Rosario and him took back, decided not to go with Call Me Harry. It was show over at that point. Cruising on the lead by himself, saving a bunch of energy for the end of the race.
And when Luis Saez won the riding title here, he did it through aggressive riding day in and day out. And he's been getting away from that, Richie, and it's one of the reasons he's been struggling at the meet. This is the Luis Saez that wins riding titles.
I agree. When Luis Saez is good, he's aggressive. Struggled early in the meet, really turned it around over the last week or 10 days. And you could see intention. Watch the start of the race. The 4-horse. Look at his arms, the motion. He's pushing forward. He wants his horse to go forward. Joel Rosario concedes the lead right there.
On the 3-horse, who everyone expected to be forward, what was that plan?
It just seemed to me like once he looked over and saw Luis Saez being aggressive, he allowed Louis to make up his mind for him.
He said uncle.
Right, exactly. He was the one to blink first, Tom.
Well, I mean, I said before the race, and the pace figures suggested that the 4 would be in front. But I do think that Joel sort of gifted it to him once he decided to be aggressive.
That was the race, right there.
I know it's hindsight, Andy, but we're going to look back on this and say this horse who had been facing so much better company to get 7-2, just too good to be true?
Well, I mean, we talked about it. He was the horse to beat in the race. He was the speed, and he's been facing better horses. Yeah, he was an overlay in this race, and they also mid-read the race. Now my 5-horse did not run a step. I think he finished last. But the other horse that was wide was the 2. And the 2, Lock and Key, got an exceptional ride by Frankie Dettori. I think sometimes, Richie, the runners-up, their rides get missed. And Frankie Dettori may have given the best ride of anybody on the 2, Lock and Key. He was the second best.
Well, we all tend always to look at focus on the winners more, and sometimes we don't catch the good rides that are second, third, and fourth.
And for that man right there, Luis Saez, probably on the best horse going in, felt that way. A horse who had speed anyway. Don't mess around. Just put him in front, and he's able to go gate to wire for the win for the Dutrow barn.
Still ahead. Still ahead, we'll have the story of rising star Cherie DeVoe. As she sends out the filly who brought her the first Grade 1 win of her career as a trainer, she feels pretty in the Lake Placid. Can Candide capture center stage? She won't have to chase down the division leader this time around as she tries to deliver her Hall of Fame trainer a 5th Alabama victory. We'll have the heartwarming story of the brother and sister team who are realizing their dream with just basking. And we'll take a closer look at the race of the summer, the showdown for supremacy in the 3-year-old division. Can the Super Filly make history against the Belmont Stakes winner and 2-year-old champ in the Travers?
We're back on Fox Saratoga Saturday, and the enthusiasm you feel here at the racetrack, it carries right on over to downtown Broadway. Once the races wrap up, that's where the fun continues each and every night. No doubt this being Alabama Saturday, it's going to be a wild night. Of course not.
You might want to make an exception tonight, Andy. It's going to be fun, as it always is on Saturday night.
Never seen Andy out downtown. Call me Harry. Big drop down in class, getting easier company here. Luis Saez, aggressive ride make, puts him on the front end, and he goes gate to wire.
And this is when Luis Saez is at his best. He takes no prisoners. He gets his position going forward. And sometimes when you're resolute, you make up the other rider's mind. Say, oh, he wants to bad enough, I'm going to back off.
There's a look from up above. And once Saez took command, everybody in here, Tom, was in chase mode.
They were in chase mode, and that's really difficult. When a horse makes the lead on his own and it's not exceptionally quick up front, he's saving a lot of energy, saving a lot of gas in the tank. He puts that foot on the accelerator, he's going to have something left.
I also love that view of the race because you can really see Frankie Dettori on the number 2 horse in the race coming between horses lock and key. I mean, he just sort of squeezed through 2 horses in the stretch.
There was not a lot of room, and he was able to get through there. That really illustrated what a good ride it was.
Great angle.
$9.80 for the win. Dutrow barn, Luis Saez, owned by Michael Dubb. Things don't get much easier in race 7, mile 3/16 on the turf, another wide open race. An allowance group. We'll talk more on this field coming up in just a minute, but right now we're going to meet the field for the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. Field of 8 will line up, and we got many more taking a shot in this field, Tom, because of who's not here.
Yeah, the leader of the division, Torpedo Anna, is going to run against the boys in the Travers next weekend, which I think is awesome. But it also opens up an opportunity for these other girls that could not stay in her wake to maybe win a big race right here.
Should we call her the elephant not in the room?
Yeah, maybe
That's
we
a good
should.
call. We start out with Intricate, who's the only filly in the country to beat Torpedo Anna. She did that as a 2-year-old.
And she needs to get back to that form. For Intricate, maybe she's been one that's been picking up the pieces in these bigger races. She'll like the added distance today.
Chitalis, coming off a victory at Horseshoe Indy.
Extremely game to win her last race in her best career effort, but she'll still need to take another step forward. And I'm not sure she's the speed today like she was last time with Miss Justify in the race.
Stepping up into a big league race and a big league track off that performance. Here's Power Squeeze. She was 3rd to Torpedo Anna in the Acorn.
Has won 5 of her last 7 and won 5 in a row if you take the races out with a filly called Torpedo Anna. So I think she's going to be happy not to see her in the gate.
We'll have more on the story of the owners and breeders of this filly later. She's already run at 1.25 miles.
I love the 4-horse Just Basking. This is a horse to me that is just made for this distance, made for this kind of race, not only on pedigree, but race style.
Huge long shot for Tim Ham. He's had a great meet, though. This is America's Vow.
Talk about bringing the right horse to Saratoga. And while she was in a race where there was a number of incidents, it shouldn't take away from how well she ran last time. Is it possible this long shot has another move forward?
Todd Pletcher, he's got 2 to try and win a 5th. This is Miss Justify trying to take the same route, randomized, did last year.
Daughter of Triple Crown winner, Justify, versatile, has natural speed, but can come from off the pace if necessary. And I think a filly improving at the right time.
Her stablemate, Candid, deserving 7-5 morning line favorite.
Absolutely. She did all the dirty work in her last start trying to beat Torpedo Anna, chased her around there, and it just kind of wore out. She faded at the end, but again, she did all the dirty work.
And a big long shot outside. This is another filly who has a win at 1.25 miles.
She seems to be the wise guy horse, is another daughter of Arrogate, who's handled the distance before, but for my money, she's handled it too slowly. But I wouldn't knock any horse in this race. I think it is absolutely wide open.
So let's go back to the coaching club, American Oaks, and Candid and Intricate. To no avail, that Torpedo Anna train just kept on rolling.
Yeah, you can see everybody asking their horse. They're using their hands, Richie, to push forward with their horses, using their crops as well. Candy, who is second there, she's been ridden like that since the half-mile pole trying to catch Torpedo Anna. That's what you call doing the dirty work.
I disagree with you, Tom, respectfully. Yeah, you're forgetting that Torpedo Anna blew the break, and she wasn't in front in this race. The horse who was in front was the last place finisher's Leslie's Lady, and I thought Candy had a very comfortable trip sitting back there. Torpedo Anna was just too good for her. I'm not saying she ran badly, but I don't think she did any dirty work in this race. I think she was mostly a suck-up second. Not that that's a bad thing.
She may have sucked up for second, but she was ridden to try to win is the point I think Tom's making.
From the
she was under a hard drive trying to get the Torpedo Anna, and a lot of times when a horse can't, they kind of fall apart. She ran it on to be second.
Meanwhile, Miss Justify, she's the Wilton winner. She'll stretch out beyond 1 mile now for the first time in her career.
Yeah, for Miss Justify, especially when you look at her last race, she's inside, has to go around the horse, gets back to the rail, strong finish. A horse that looks like this extra distance is going to be right up her alley.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you never really know. She won this race partly because she got an exceptional ride and trip, and it was a very, very fast-paced race because it was a horse that did what we call running off, just sort of uncontrollable speed, saying too fast a pace. She showed herself to be adaptable, but Richie, in my opinion, if she's going to win this race today, she has got to do it on the front end.
Well, and I think she has to take a step forward, but these are young horses that are continually changing, and I feel like she is improving right now. She's going to have to handle more accomplished rivals like Candy.
She's got the right rider aboard, Flavian Pratt, 9 stakes wins already at this meet.
It's remarkable. He's making all the right moves.
We're going to take a timeout. Of course, coming up next weekend, trainer Kenny McPeak takes a swing at history as he gives his super filly Torpedo Anna the chance to prove herself against the boys in the race of the summer. That comes in the DraftKings Travers. We'll preview her chances when we come back.
And it is Swiss Skydiver, and she's opened up on the field here. Swiss Skydiver in front by a half dozen lengths. Then Harvey's Little Girl, Bonnie South, and En Boutant. And Swiss Skydiver is sailing home here in the 140th running of the Alabama.
2020, that was a strange year. Empty stands due to COVID. The Alabama came after the Travers, and what a performance by Swiss Skydiver in that Alabama, earning the first of 3 Grade 1 wins. And this is when we saw, not that he hadn't done it before, but trainer Kenny McPeak showing us he was not afraid, Tom, to take swings, putting her later against the boys in the Preakness, which he outdueled eventual Horse of the Year Authentic in the Preakness.
He did indeed. So a filly winning the Preakness, it's highly unusual. And Swiss Skydiver was one special horse.
She got incredibly good for Kenny McPeak, but I got to think Kenny's nightmare is winning a big race and there's nobody there.
He's going to take another big swing, and he announced this on our show with Torpedo Anna passing on this race today to tackle the boys in next Saturday's DraftKings Travers. Where do you guys think she stacks up right now against the best 3-year-old males?
She's going to have to run faster. But watching the way she wins, I feel like there's always something left in the tank. And I think that you can look at speed figures as one barometer, but you also have to be able to look at the way a horse does something. And she's winning with her ears pricked, and I do think she's capable more when need be.
Andy, do the numbers say she has to get faster?
Yeah, the numbers say she has to get faster, but not so much faster that it's not within the realm of the possible. The problem I have isn't so much that, and Rich is right, she is a fighter. I mean, she puts away good horses. She gets involved in fast paces with good horses, and she dusts them off like they're bad horses, and she wins. The problem is Dornoch, fierceness, two talented horses with speed. She's got to battle with them at some point, maybe a half mile left of the race. Theoretically, to win, put them away, and then hold off the oncoming train, which includes Sierra Leone and the others. I think it's an Herculean task, but I tell you what, I'm thrilled that she's doing it because it's going to make the race so much more exciting.
Make no mistake about it. She's in that top tier of contenders next weekend on Saturday. There's no doubt about it.
McPeak's been telling us for a long time in the morning. She's given the best boys, including the Derby winner, all they could handle. She's getting a shot. She just may be the best 3-year-old in the country. We will find out next weekend. Let's go to Maggie.
And don't forget, if you are in support of Torpedo Anna, to wear your pink if you're on track here, or even if you're watching from your living room, wear your pink to show support to the big filly as she takes on the boys. Cannot wait for next weekend as we'll take a look at some runners here in this marathon turf race. The mile 3/16. We'll take a look at the layoff and comeback number 4, Freedom Trail. And he's one that I thought did incredibly well from 2 to 3. You know, won his first 2 starts, including the Awad Stakes, but just always kind of looked a little bit underdeveloped. Came back as a 3-year-old, had really filled out and had gotten just that much more athletic. Well, today, making his 4-year-old debut, I can say the same thing again. He looks stronger behind. It looks as though John Terranova and his team have gotten this horse so incredibly fit for this comeback. It does not look like he's been off since last November, and he's had a steady diet of turf workouts on the Oklahoma training track. Moving on to number 9, Reckoning Force. We'll see Brendan Walsh represented with Intricate in today's Grade 1 Alabama. This is a guy who I've seen several times, you know, throughout his career, but today he actually really caught my eye. He was kind of unassuming at times, but just the way that he's moving and his confidence and his stride here in the paddock really grabbed me when he first walked in the paddock, and I appreciate his effort last time out. Granted, he'll have to stretch back out in distance, but physically he looks well equipped to handle this mile 3/16. And Brendan Walsh is applying those shortcut cheater blinkers that we see here today, but a horse I think is a major player in this field, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. 7-2, very modest favorite for the trainer you just saw there, Brendan Walsh, Reckoning Force. You can play all the action, including the Alabama still to come later today. Grade 2 Lake Placid as well. By getting signed up with NYRA Bets, the official betting app of Saratoga Racecourse. Get a $50 free play with the promo code GET50. Go to NYRABets.com/get50 and get that free $50 play. Andy, where would you put $50 here?
Well, I'm going to try a different tack here and try an exacta box. I think the interesting horse might be the 6 Mendelssohn March for the aforementioned Ken McPeak. Needed the race off the layoff last time, has some good efforts last year. Box with the number 9, Reckoning Force, who I think is favored right now and should be favored. I like his efforts overall. I think he's the horse to beat in here, and I'm going to box the 6-9 exacta.
Well, that's the man he'll have aboard. Talking strategy there with Tyler Gaffleone. Tom, where do you wind up?
I'll line up on the 6, Mendelssohn's March. I like that race off the layoff, coming from a deep outside post and getting that race under the belt. Look, this horse had a layoff from September, was gelded, comes back this year. He seems to be a focused racehorse, focused on his training. I hate to say it, I'm with Andy.
And you're with Ken McPeak.
I got no problem with that.
Mig, for you, what do you like about Mondigo for Clement?
I think he can be lone speed here. I think he can make the lead very comfortably. I hope Joel Rosario allows him to just use his stride. Just don't get in his way. You don't have to send him, but don't grab him.
Now, Ken McPeak, he's got Mendelssohn's March, the 6 in this race coming up, and a pretty good filly next week against the boys as well. Let's go to Acacia.
A big week to come for trainer Kenny McPeak, who's joining me here. Kenny, first though, Mendelssohn's March coming out. What have you seen from him now that he's second off the layoff?
This horse is trained super going into this race. It probably as well as I've ever seen him. His last race, he was wide and wider both turns. He gets beat 3 lengths, and I think he lost that much both turns.
Well, coming up next week, though, 1 week from today, in fact, we'll get a chance to see the filly Torpedo Anna take on the boys in the DraftKings Travers. I understand you were quite pleased with what you saw from her working this morning.
Well, they were supposed to go together. And of course, in the middle of the breeze, there was a horse that kind of got in their way, but she just cruised right around. I mean, she's just an amazing filly. I mean, this is a journey that we're really enjoying. It's hard not to, We're just trying to soak it all in, but she worked super, came out super. It's just one of those special times, and fingers crossed she's highly competitive.
She's run some big races recently, but it seems that her energy is still high, exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, she's pretty consistent. You know, I've said before, she's a bit of a banjo string. She gets a little wound up, but that's her, and you want that energy sometimes, and I think that contributes to her speed, you know, that she has some gas leaving there. But just a real special filly, and at this point, everything's, you know, all systems go, and they better be ready. She's ready.
Thanks for your time, Kenny. Good luck here.
You're welcome.
Greg, I've got my pink dress ready for next weekend.
Yeah, Kenny told us bring the pink out for the filly facing the boys. And can we just go back to what he pulled off on that weekend? Third trainer ever to pull off an Oaks Derby double. And maybe more remarkably, he called his shot a couple of weeks earlier. He said they both wouldn't be surprised if both won. Mystic Dan was 18-1, by the way.
He doesn't lack confidence, and he was certainly right to be confident that weekend. Both of them ran very well. Some people think Mystic Dan got lucky in the Derby. I completely disagree with that notion. He was right on top of a pace that completely fell apart. All the horses that were forward, including Fierceness, finished well back in the field. Mystic Dan survived a pace that fell apart.
He had a great trip. He got to the rail. He was able to outmaneuver Dornick, who ends up winning the Belmont behind him. He had a great trip.
Post parade for this 7th. Again, on the grass at 1 mile and 3/16, and this is the one with the rail, Cyber Ninja.
Yeah, coming back in 14 days and going back to the turf. Hasn't had the chance to run on the turf the last 2 times. Should improve.
Here's Lincoln Hawk, Ramon Vasquez rides.
Ran reasonably well with a good trip last time. I think this is a tougher spot.
Freedom Trail contender, but comes in off a long layoff.
Long layoff. Was a top-notch horse last year. Let's see if we can get back to form there.
We just heard from Kenny McPeak. He sends out Mendelssohn's March.
I agree with what Kenny said. Outside post position, wide, both turns. He'll get a better trip today.
Hall of Fame Barnes Shug McGahee has started to heat up over the last couple of days.
And I think some of his better efforts is when he's forwardly placed. I would like to see Frankie Dettori try to be near the lead, if not on the lead.
Here is Mondigo for Christophe Clement.
Well, good luck with the 7 making lead. I think Mondigo's the speed of the race, and that, of course, is if Joel Rosario decides to go.
I agree with you, but the 7 could be aggressive.
Tyler Gaffleone for Brendan Walsh on Reckoning Force.
I just think he's the horse to beat. I think you go through his races, and while I took a small shot with a 6, I think this horse is the right favorite, and he's just run good races repeatedly against good fields.
We've seen Daunt dance a lot of dances on this circuit.
You like playing long shots? I think Daunt, the 10 horse, at 20-1 is a long shot with a real chance.
Very big price on a contender. And then Red Run, equipment change, blinkers coming off for Mike Maker, who's having a great Saratoga.
He had some very good form when he first got to the turf, or at least last year. His recent effort back in June, not so good, but he has some go-back races that make him far from impossible.
Let's check in with Maggie, who's standing by with a trainer with a favorite in this race, and he's got an intriguing filly as well in the Alabama.
That could be a nice start to the latter half of this card for Brendan Walsh. And Brendan, let's first start by talking about Reckoning Force in here. You said this distance really should suit him well.
Should suit him, Maggie, yeah. The races we've been handed this year, they've basically been a little on the sharp side for him, but he'll appreciate the extra furlong and a half today. I think he's doing really well, should run very well.
He looks it. Let's talk a little bit about the Grade 1 Alabama. Your filly, Intricate, holds the honor of the only horse to beat Torpedo Anna. Was 4th last time we saw her going back to the, third, in the CCA Oaks. But she was out the back. Is that how the same style you're going to employ with her today?
No, we'd like to see her a little more prominent. I think the track caught her out a little bit the last day. She hadn't really worked on it here because she was doing so well at Churchill. I left her there. And, we've had a few works on it this time, which I think will be to her advantage today. So we'll try and sit a little bit closer today.
Love that insight. Brendan, thank you so much. Best of luck with your runners.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right, Brendan Walsh looking to kick off what could be a big afternoon, Greg.
See what happens with Intricate. She'll have the rail in that Grade 1 Alabama. And that man right there will be aboard for the Walsh Barn. Tyler Gaffleone, who's currently tied for 2nd in the standings at this meet, Andy.
Yeah, but he's been gaining a lot of ground, NYRA Ortiz. Now, NYRA Ortiz is coming off a 3-day suspension. He didn't ride Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but he's back today, Richie, and he still maintains a lead, which probably ends up being insurmountable.
I'm sure he was a bit anxious, had some anxiety about having the 3 days off and them being able to catch him. The fact that he was able to still maintain a pretty comfortable lead, and now he's back, and guess what? He's fresher than them guys. He had a couple of days vacation.
Let's go back to a point Tom brought up as we take a look at Freedom Trail. So this 4-year-old has been off since November. 2 starts back when he was beat a neck. Of course, it was just a couple lengths behind him. 15-1 right now, Tom. This horse is 9-2, and Dawn has run some credible efforts since then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, these are players in the race, both of them. The 4-horse Freedom Trail and Dawn, who you're watching right here, compete. And, you know, it's all about value, right, Andy, when you're making bets and seeing where you can get some value on a horse.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, post position not that important here. This is just a little bit longer than a 1 1/8 race, 1 3/16. It starts at the top of the stretch. So outside post horses are going to have a long run to get their position. So if you are worried about the post, I wouldn't be worried about it with him. I think his form this year has declined from last year. That's what worries me with him. He is a very big price, Dawn, and he didn't have a particularly good trip in his last race either. So I can understand the argument for taking him at this price. I just wish he was as good as he was last year. And Freedom Trail, I worry he's not going to be ready for this race off the long layoff. But I thought that effort was very good by him, the one we just showed.
And the problem is, if the race sets up like we think it will, with a slow pace up front, it's advantage to the ones that are going to be able to be up close enough to make a move. If you're a deep closer, I think the way this race sets up, you're at a disadvantage.
Shouldn't Javier Castellano be somewhat aggressive with the 10 Dawn early, get position?
Well, he needs to be, because Dawn is what I would call a one-paced horse. He doesn't have an acceleration. He's got a high cruising speed, but he doesn't finish. He just gallops the same speed. Where Freedom Trail actually has gears. He can accelerate. That's one of Dawn's problems. He just is one pace.
So we expect the 8 to be in front. I think we
do.
all kind of agree on that.
That's what I'm hoping.
Better word. I'm thinking the 6 and 7 are the ones, maybe the 10, that can be in closest attendance to him. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think certainly with the 6 having a more inside post than the last one off the race, last race off the layoff, I definitely believe so.
Minute to post here in this 7th. Let's go back to Maggie and Acacia.
And Acacia, I know you have some interest in number 6 in here. That is Mendelssohn's March. A horse that I think a lot of the guys like too, but second off the bench. What do you see from him from last time to this time today?
Well, he definitely looks stronger, Maggie. And I had actually written down in my notes last time out that this was a horse that I wanted to see going long again. And that's what he gets to do today. Last time out, coming in off a layoff, going 1 1/16. Kenny mentioned the wide trip. I just thought, it's crazy to say 1 1/16, but I thought it was a bit sharp for him. And he just has that demeanor of a horse that wants to have that even stride, that even running style. And this could be the right place for him.
He's so laid back. Now, number 10, Dawn, you heard the guys mentioning him. He's a horse that consistently throughout his career has always taken, at least physically speaking, a couple starts to get truly fit, truly strong. And he finally, to my eye, this year, coming back now as a 5-year-old, looks stronger in those hindquarters, which I think is so important with racehorses.
And that's the biggest challenge for him always. His hind end, he's a little bit more angular in his build. Horses propel themselves forward from their hindquarters. That's where you want to see the most muscle, and he definitely has that now. He's a horse that they keep him moving out on the track.
Greg?
Acacia, Maggie, thank you. About to load here for this 7th on Alabama Saturday. And the 3-1 favorite is been favored throughout. Reckoning Force. It's just maybe a little bit, Andy, what we saw in the last race. This horse just been facing a little bit better.
I think you're right. I think it's an important point in turf racing, you know? And one of the things I think is important to do is try to evaluate who the horses have been running against. And I think he's been running against some better horses than a lot of these horses have been facing.
It's a 3-1 favorite. These connections, trainer Brendan Walsh, jockey Tyler Gaffleone, they will team up. Still to come in the Grade 1 Alabama on Intricate. Again, the only filly to beat the queen of the 3-year-old filly division, Torpedo Anna. It was back when she was a 2-year-old in the Goldenrod. So that to come. Right now it's the 7th. Let's go upstairs. Frank Miramati with the call.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Very even start. No one really wants to assert themselves yet. And there goes Mondego to do just that. So Mondego takes the lead. Reckoning Force and Daunt are 2nd and 3rd. And on the inside, Freedom Trail secures a good spot in 4th, followed by Red Run 5th. Then Mendelssohn's March in mid-pack, racing on the inside of Dripping Gold. The 2 trailers, Cyber Ninja and Lincoln Hawk, is at the back of the field. Mondego sets the pace under Joel Rosario. In hand, in command by a length and a half. Reckoning Force is in 2nd. Followed at the rail by Freedom Trail. Daunt is in 4th. The opening quarter went in 23 and 3/5 seconds. It's another 3 lengths back to Red Run, who is followed by Mendelssohn's March. The 3 trailers, Dripping Gold, Cyber Ninja, and Lincoln Hawk still at the back of the field. Mondego and Reckoning Force 1-2 as they've straightened up for the run down the backstretch. The half mile went in 48 and 4/5 seconds. Freedom Trail is eager along the inside 3rd. With Daunt just outside of him, they've been racing as a team the entire way. Then comes Dripping Gold, racing on the outside of Red Run. Lincoln Hawk is out of last, leaving Mendelssohn's March and Cyber Ninja at the back. 1:13 and 2 for Mondego, who's been there throughout with Reckoning Force in 2nd. Daunt is called on now, trying to make a 3-wide bid after them. Then comes Freedom Trail at the rail, losing ground in 4th. Dripping Gold, Gold Colors is next. As they reach the top of the stretch, Lincoln Hawk is starting to launch a bid, widest of all. Top of the lane, and Reckoning Force has taken the lead away from Mondego. 2 lengths back, Daunt is trying his best in 3rd, followed by Lincoln Hawk, who continues to make headway, and Red Run has surfaced late. 16th pole, Reckoning Force a length and a half. Late run from Red Run, it will be Reckoning Force. Red Run was 2nd, Daunt 3rd, Mondego 4th.
There's Brendan Walsh winning. Trainer Tyler Gaffleone on Reckoning Force for the victory.
Well, they talk about it. Pace makes the race. Mondego made the lead. It went slow up front. It's hard to close against that. Reckoning Force to his outside was in perfect position. First to make the jump, first home.
Helps to be riding the best horse. But for Tyler Gaffleone, this is why he's the one challenging Irad Ortiz for the riding title here. Because this horse is not a speed. He figures to be 5th or 6th early. But Tyler Gaffleone realized, I don't want to be that far back. I'm riding the best horse, Richie, and he rode him like it.
Put him in position. Got his position going forward. No pace on. Mondego had the trip I was hoping he'd get. He just wasn't good enough. And Reckoning Force was always poised in the perfect spot to take advantage of the pace scenario. Tyler Gaffleone has ridden well for a number of years here. This year, he's taken his riding to another level.
And can we give a little honorable mention to Manny Franco, by the way? Once again, not the winning rider, but his ride from the far outside post with the number 11 Red Run was exceptional to get 2nd.
One of the few that closed in this race. And we saw a lot of good closers that didn't fire today because of the pace.
There's Brendan Walsh. It was just a few years ago. He earned his first ever Grade 1 win. That was in 2018 with Maxfield in the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity, of course. Had a pretty big year with a 3-year-old filly last year, winning the Kentucky Oaks, a pretty mischievous. Back to the start, Mig.
Yeah, listen, everybody kind of let their horses find their stride for the first 50 to 70 yards. Mondego asserts himself here. Manny Franco, from that post, he's looking for someplace to get in. He doesn't want to be caught wide. And Javier Castellano had Daunt in the perfect position for a horse that's won pace. This race was dominated by horses that were forward.
And doesn't that give an illustration of how the long stretch run, almost a quarter mile from start to the turn, it gives the riders an opportunity to get good position.
Made a big difference for our winner, that's for sure.
Tom, you use Tyler Gaffleone a lot. What's different about him now?
Well, I think Tyler's won 4 times for me at this meet, and what's different about Tyler is that he's taken his trade down to Kentucky. He's been the dominant rider at Churchill Downs. When you start getting that sharp and start dominating groups of other riders at big racetracks like Churchill Downs, it's about confidence.
Yep.
One in the books for Brendan Walsh. He'll send out Intricate to come in the Grade 1 Alabama. With this rider back aboard, Tyler Gaffleone still to come. Former All-Star and World Series champion Jason Worth is now on top of the horse racing world as part owner of the Belmont Stakes and Haskell winner. Can Worth's dream season with Dornick keep going? And next Saturday's Travers will preview his chances next. You can't not have fun when you come to Saratoga. It is the summer place to be. Fans enjoying it all summer long. Our program brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. Wedding parties, birthday parties. And I've never seen Mig get stopped so much. You can't even walk in town.
That's why I don't go to town. No. Hey, have you ever seen Andy dance with that girl there, though? He was cutting a rug the other day right over there. You gotta get a video of Andy dancing.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on this
very hard to believe.
Reckoning force with the win here in the 7th. Brendan Walsh, the trainer. Tyler Gaffleone picking up his 29th winner of the meet. In another case, we talked about it, Andy. Who horse have been facing the best company gets the win.
No, I think we saw it in 2 straight turf races, and I think it's a recurring, I don't think it is, I know it's a recurring theme in turf races. Speed figures are essential in horse racing, but they're more meaningful, I think you'll agree, Tom, in dirt racing than turf racing. And in turf racing, I think it's important to know what kind of competition horses have been facing.
What a dream summer it's been for this elite rider, Tyler Gaffleone. Let's go to Maggie.
I don't think I've ever not seen him smiling this meet. Tyler Gaffleone with another win here aboard Reckoning Force, a horse that I talked to Brendan Walsh prior to this race here, and he said the mile and 3/16 is going to suit him perfectly.
Yeah, he was right. You know, this is a horse that's just had a little bit of bad luck in the past. Haven't really gotten the trip with him. Today it worked out great, and Brendan brought him over here ready to run. It was just a lot of fun out there.
Brendan also gave me some interesting insight when it comes to Intricate, who you'll be aboard again in the Grade 1 Alabama filly you're very familiar with. But he said that getting her some works in here has done her the world of good, and that you're going to try to sit closer to the pace.
That's the idea, yeah. We've been working over here on the main track her last couple. She's been doing great. Had a really nice blowout here last week. It gives us all the confidence coming into this race, but she's definitely put on a little bit more weight. You can see there's a little more life to her, so everything's coming around.
And the good thing is, you don't have to face Torpedo-Anna, but she is the only horse who ever beaten her.
We got that on our resume, but we'll see what happens down the road.
Well, wishing you the best of luck. Congratulations here, Tyler.
Thanks so much.
All right, this team could be formidable in a little bit. Greg?
Maggie said it. He's always smiling. And this is a guy who came inches away from a Kentucky Derby to come that close and not win it. Get fined for the ride, get replaced on the horse. He's been through a lot this year, but he stayed positive throughout.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. You know, he's got the right attitude. To lose the Kentucky Derby by a nose would take a long time for a lot of riders, myself included, to get over. But you know what? I spoke to him about it, and he said he looked at it, and he said, at least now I have a roadmap. I understand how to win that race. I didn't get it done this time, but he sounded like a guy who's determined to rectify that and get it done. And I love how every year he's come to Saratoga, competed with the best, not only held his own, but continued to hone his game, continue to improve. He's got such a big future in front of him.
We'll see him in this next race coming up on the main track at 1 1/8, first allowance condition race. So most horses here coming off maiden victories or been trying to get through this level, and Tyler will be on Rocketeer. Right now, the 7-5 favorite for Brad Cox. Some very good 3-year-olds in that 8th race who maybe have designs on stakes later in their careers. We take a look at the current odds, or morning line odds, for the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales, in an interesting out-of-towner in this group, just basking, trained by Ian Wilkes, and Tom had a dominant performance in the Iowa Oaks.
Yeah, breaks, goes back to last, just sits there, comes around, is going to pass everyone, and just importantly, after she does, she gets so far in front of them on the gallop out, this extra distance, the 1.25 miles today of the Alabama, should be right up her alley.
I agree with you, Tom. She's my top selection, just basking. She's got the pedigree to get the 1.25 miles, and I think there's a dividing line between that 9th furlong and that 10th furlong, and I lean heavily on pedigrees. And Arrogate, the fastest 1.25 miles ever run at a racetrack that had their first race meeting 3 weeks after the Battle of Gettysburg, and then out of a Blaine mare, that's all stamina influence, and the 1.25 miles suits her best as far as I'm concerned.
Another Arrogate followed the footsteps of Dad just last year. The Belmont Stakes winner, Arcangelo, who Jenna Antonucci, of course, made history, first female trainer ever to win a Triple Crown race, and took a little bit of heat, Andy, training up to this race with no prep in between. It worked out.
Well, there are people out there, not me, that like to second-guess trainers. And she certainly got second-guessed a lot, but she pushed all the right buttons in getting this horse to win the Peter Pan, the Belmont Stakes, and then the Travers, and eventually the 3-year-old championship.
And that man on there, we said it earlier in the show, his 7th victory in the Travers, Javier Castellano, and it was Jenna Antonucci and Javier Castellano signing autographs earlier this morning on site, with all proceeds benefiting the Racing Museum and Hall of Fame across the street. Of course, Arcangelo these days retired to stud in the heart of Central Kentucky in Versailles. He's got some pretty good company there too. We'd love to see a match race against all the stallions there. Flightline, City of Light, Tonalist, Mineshaft.
He's living his best life, ain't no doubt about that.
I like Flightline in that
I do
matchup.
too.
I think he looked pretty good. I'd take him now.
Probably be 1-9 in that spot. Nice addition to that roster at Lane's End as we take a look at the probables for next Saturday's DraftKings Travers, the showdown of the summer, and the faces that will line up. What a lineup. The 2-year-old champion Fierceness, runner-up of the Kentucky Derby Sierra Leone, current leader of the division Dornick, the Belmont Haskell winner, of course the Super Filly Torpedo Anna. But let's talk Fierceness, Andy, what he did in the Jim Dandy.
Well, you know, he got to get that sort of comfortable stalking trip he likes to get, but it was a very legitimate or fair pace. And what I really liked how John Velasquez sort of drifted coming into the stretch, and he knows Sierra Leone probably wants to go around him. He said, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me from the inside. And I just thought it was a terrific effort by both Fierceness and Sierra Leone. But it's good to see Fierceness get his act back together.
It was fun to watch Johnny checking over his right shoulder, and when he realized, well, he's not there, where is he?
Right.
And then he looked to his inside thumb, and then he floated back down to so his horse would see him and meet the challenge.
When he's good, he's really good. Fierceness.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Tom, the leader of this division right now, based off 2 Grade 1 wins, is it Dornick?
Oh, it has to be. I think it's Dornick, but I also think it's wide open. And the Travers, so many years, has been the race that separates the men from the boys. And in this case, maybe the girls from the ladies, with Torpedo Anna competing as well. But this is the race next Saturday. They call it the Midsummer Derby. That really is the stepping stone to the championship.
And I think, though, one advantage that Dornick has that no one has ever had before, he has a 1.25 mile win leading up to this race at Saratoga in the unusual circumstance of the Belmont Stakes being here, and I don't think that should be discounted.
And Mick, this was earlier today. Dornick, as you see on the outside, what are you seeing from this work?
That's just a nice, easy work. He's in hand. Watching it, if I didn't know that he went 47-3, Tom, I would have thought it looked more like a 48. He changed 49. He was doing it so easily. All the heavy lifting's done. He's a fit horse. You're just trying to keep him there.
Co-owned again by former All-Star and World Series champion Jason Worth and former teammates. They got together. They're going to talk about Dornick and his chances in that DraftKings Travers. Paul LaDuca and Jason reliving the old days. And you'll see that on next Saturday's coverage of the DraftKings Travers as Dornick tries to cement his status as a potential 3-year-old champion. That would give him a 3rd Grade 1 win. We have the 8th to come on Alabama Saturday when we continue on our Fox coverage. Pretty impressive list of Alabama winners to be inducted across the street in the Hall of Fame. Go for Wand, 1990 winner, champion 2- and 3-year-old filly, Silver Bullet Day. Added a Kentucky Oaks to the championship 3-year-old season. Royal Delta, 3-time champion for Hall of Famer Bill Mott. And how about Songbird, her Alabama win? Made her 10 for 10 to start her career. She was inducted just last year into the Hall of Fame across the street. Speaking of Bill Mott, former trainer of Royal Delta, he's going to send out talented 3-year-old who tried to punch his ticket to the DraftKings Travers. He was a distant 3rd in the Curlin Stakes last time out. He's certainly a major player in this race coming up. Let's go to Maggie.
Favorite that
is, Greg. In number 6 in here, Rocketeer, who was pretty valiant in defeat last time out, going today's distance of 1 1/8 miles here at the spa, and was run down by a horse coming from off the pace. Now, Rocketeer, he'll add those short cup cheater blinkers today, in which he's been working in them. I watched his work 2 back, the 48 and 4 here on the training track. He was by himself. He was quite strong going to the pole. So that indicates to me that the blinkers, they're trying to get a little bit more speed, a little bit more clear-cut speed. The problem today, though, is that he's likely to deal with the speed of number 2, Digital Ops, who is stretching out in distance to 2 turns for the first time. So, guys, I'm not sure that his job gets that easy.
So
now 9-5 favoritism right now on Rocketeer, 3-year-old. They're facing some older horses in this race, and here's another 3-year-old for the barn we were just talking about, Belmont. Timeout.
You know, I think an important point in this race, aside from his obvious talent, are that even though he has the 10 horse at 1 1/8 miles, there's 3 scratches. So he's coming from post 7 now.
Yes.
And I think that makes a huge difference for him getting early position. I know he didn't run great last time, but I thought his maiden win was very impressive, and I believe Timeout could eventually be a very, very talented horse going forward.
And the secret to his success in his last 2 starts is this transition from a 1-turn race to a 2-turn race, which he gets again today. Look, he sits back, makes a big, bold move. I mean, he's the kind of horse that's made for this kind of race.
Absolutely, and he should be able to find some position. Great point, Andy. Post 7 as opposed to 10, huge for him. And he's got that pedigree, Tom. Curlin out of a war front mare. 1 1/8 miles is really in his wheelhouse.
Maggie, he tried him in Stakes Company last time out. Maybe that could be in the not-too-distant future again.
I could not agree more, Greg. This is a stunning colt by a prolific sire in Curlin, and he just looks better than the rest of his 3-year-old competition. Yes, there's 2 older horses in here, but a lot of them look like 3-year-olds that are still in that development process, that growth kind of spurt where they're trying to even out that frame. The front end's trying to catch up with the hind end. Not Timeout. He's developed, he's mature physically, he's strong, and he's sharp. He's ready to go today. I really like what I'm seeing from Timeout, but the horse that really caught my eye is the older one, and I mean rightfully so, right? Game Warden, number 7. He has a lovely pedigree, and he's got some more seasoning. He also holds 3 wins, where a lot of these horses are looking for only their 2nd win. He is striding out, marching around this paddock for Norm Cassie as he comes off of the back of a big win, albeit against Starter Allowance Company. But I always find it intriguing with these horses, Greg, because these are the ones that know how to win. The other ones, they've only broken their maiden, so sometimes facing winners can be a tall task.
Yeah, this is a 3-time winner. Thank you, Maggie. Game Warden, an older 4-year-old for owners that have just had an incredible meet, came into today tied for the most wins of the meet. Tom, you're going to wind up here.
I am. I think Game Warden, who's, as Maggie said, an older horse, and a horse that takes about 4 years to the 4-year-old year to become an adult. So he's running against freshman in college. He's a bigger, more mature horse, and although he's stepping up a little bit in class, I think he can handle it.
Yeah, I disagree. Listen, he's a square price if you like him. I'm probably an idiot for going against a Flying P horse. Their horse has been running through walls the entire meet. In my opinion, he got a very fast pace to close at last time out against inferior horses, and I think he's stepping way up in company here.
I think regardless how you feel about him, 6-1 I think is surprising, isn't it?
It's a good price on Game Warden. He ran really fast last time, and although, again, we're stepping up, it's the same distance, and it happened right here at Saratoga.
Sign up with NYRA Bets, the official betting app of Saratoga. Get a $50 free bet. Use the promo code GET50 and bet on any track, anytime. NYRABets.com/GET50 to take advantage of that free $50 bet. Not a lot of times during the summer season, Andy, we see not even 1, but 2 Chad Brown runners. Cartuccio the 1, Digital Ops the 2 at prices.
Yeah, now Cartuccio looked like he could be promising, winning his debut with a solid speed figure, and he's disappointed in subsequent starts. Tough horses, but he hasn't run very well. Now, Digital Ops, he really woke up coming back as a 3-year-old last time at a mile distance at Aqueduct. And I don't think he's impossible. He's probably the inside speed with the 6 Rocketeer stalking him. And I think if you're looking for an upsetter, to me, he's the one I would go with, not the number 7 in this race. I do like the 10, though.
I don't think you can discount how hot the connections of the 7 Game Warden is, too. Don't you have to factor that in?
I think you do. I mean, hot or not, I mean, their horses are running exceptionally well throughout the meet, for sure. My problem is if you go into race number 11 and you look at the number 3 Yo Daddy, who finished just a length and a quarter behind this horse, I think you need to ask yourself, would I be interested in Yo Daddy in this race at all? Now, I wouldn't be, and therefore I'm not interested in this horse at all.
There's a look at the 10. Timeout, and Tom, obviously from one of the best barns to ever do it in this game. Sometimes it takes a little time to get a horse to become a star. Could this horse continue to get better and better?
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about the transition from 1 to 2 turns with timeout in the last 2 starts, but also the addition of blinkers. Blinkers has helped this horse a great deal in his last 2 starts.
Let's go to Acacia.
And here with his trainer, Bill Mott, sending out timeout. Bill, can you expound a little bit on the addition of blinkers 2 starts back and what it has done for him?
Well, he's just a big green horse, and he seemed like he was a little distracted, and it seemed like that helped him focus a little. Of course, the fact that he had 2 races before we put him on, just the experience of that helped him out in itself, and the addition of the added distance. So, I think the combination, the added distance and the blinkers and the experience, I think it's all helped him, and, hopefully he'll turn into a real racehorse one of these days, once he gets it figured out. I mean, we've always liked him, and we've been very optimistic about him, and hopefully he'll keep improving.
Coming off a 3rd place finish in Stakes Company last time out, but a graded stakes winner in your barn and battened down worked this morning, 101 and change, potentially pointing to the DraftKings Travers. What did you see from that workout?
I thought it was very good. He worked with another good horse. He worked with a horse called Ben Doog, and they went along very well. They both finished up well, galloped out good. And, I haven't seen that Batten Down has gone the wrong way since his last race. He ran, in the Jim Dandy and ran a credible race. He's going to have to improve. He's going to have to move forward if he's going to be a winner in the Travers. But, this time of year, 3-year-olds keep improving a little bit, and hopefully he's one of them.
Thanks for the insight, Bill. Good luck here.
Okay, thank you.
Greg?
All right, Acacia, thank you. 2 goes by. And here's D-Day Sky at 21-1.
Actually, probably ran his best race last time out with a reasonably good trip, but at least he's improving.
Up to the 5 now, Jackson Heights, a winner at the meet already.
And maybe the best ride of the entire meet by Dylan Davis, coming up a very strong inside bias.
And was at 13-1 that day. Here's Rocketeer, 9-5.
Second best at this level. One of our co-favorites gets blinkers on today. Try to focus him a little bit more.
These Silks have been in the winner's circle a lot. Game Warden.
Well, we've had a disagreement on the set with this horse, but I cannot argue he's coming off of his fastest figure yet in his life.
And now the favorite at 8-5, Bill Mott's timeout.
Boy, he's got the look of a horse that wants that distance, that 1.125 kind of distance for a thoroughbred. He looks great on the track.
Approaching the 5-minute mark to post. Here from this 8th at Saratoga, still had the incredible story of a small brother and sister breeding operation who had the lofty goal of one day winning the Alabama Stakes. Well, they'll get that chance later today with a filly they bred. Iowa Oaks winner, Just Basking. That's still ahead. Next Saturday, it is appointment television. The showdown of the summer in the DraftKings Travers. Coverage starts on Fox 3 Eastern. The 2-year-old champion, the Kentucky Derby runner-up, 2-time Grade 1 winner, Belmont Stakes winner Dornick, and, oh yeah, the super filly, Torpedo Anna, trying to make history. Filly has not won the Travers since 1915.
And some mighty good ones have tried, including Chris Everett and Devona Dale.
So that is coming up next weekend. Look at the current odds for this 8th race, and certainly a couple of talented 3-year-olds, Rocketeer, Timeout, who are getting plenty of attention, Tom, on the board right now. It is Timeout from that outside post, who is at 8-5 on the board.
Yeah, they're kind of sharing favoritism, and I think there we are. We're looking at Rocketeer right there. And with Rocketeer, you see the addition of blinkers, and maybe, just maybe, being second best last time, and really no excuse, just second best, but that horse no longer eligible for this condition gives him a chance.
I'm going to remind you, you liked the winner of his last race, a long shot who made a big close, and I would disagree. I thought he ran very well in there, Rocketeer. I thought it was a huge improvement because he was close to a pace that ultimately sort of fell apart. So I don't think he had no excuse.
Second best.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, when there's a length separation.
Well, I think he ran very well. We should note, though, the number 1 just took a giant punch at the windows to go from 16-1 to 6-1, which is equivalent about a $20,000 bet.
2 minutes to post. Let's go to Maggie and Acacia.
And as far as the two Chad Browns are concerned, Maggie, the one with more speed is the two Digital Ops, who was flattered with Pentathlon finally coming back to win yesterday.
Yeah, Pentathlon actually earning a 96 buyer. Now, Acacia, indulge me for a second. I have a little bit of a theory about Aqueduct. Aqueduct is a track that, unlike here, there's no morning training.
Yep.
So oftentimes we'll see races dominated on the inside or on the front end because I feel like they scrape that rail and therefore it just gets a bit speedy. So Digital Ops was able to ride that rail where Pentathlon was on the wide chase throughout. Now, I respect him for his inside speed again here, but I think he meets a much tougher crew.
I could not agree more. Yes, flattered with Pentathlon coming back. He was also, 1-4 with an entry yesterday. He was supposed to be the horse to get the job done. But as far as Digital Ops is concerned, he's going to try to stretch out as well. And I think your theory is well met as far as being able to ride the wave at Aqueduct. Could he have some company on the front end in here, though?
Oh, he's supposed to, you would think, with Rocketeer. And furthermore, I'm not sure if he's up for the 1 1/8. He's relaxed, which I appreciate because he's a lot more calm than what he was last time. So maybe saving that energy. But let's get to your pick in here, number 10, Timeout.
He's 7-5. I know he's the favorite, but he's a horse that I think is really starting to get good at the right time. He was chasing Unmatched Wisdom and Corporate Power last time out. It's interesting watching Bill Mott saddle him. He has to actually go back and get a larger overgirth for him because he's such a big, solid horse, and I think he actually even looks a bit stronger than last time.
I agree with you. He is a beast out on the racetrack, Greg.
Maggie, Acacia, thank you. 3-2 favorite. Timeout with that outside post split, as Andy had said, because this turn does come up quick at this 1 1/8 configuration. So sometimes it's not great to be all the way outside. With the scratches, he only has to deal with post 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not great. I mean, it's amazing the advantage the sort of inside runners have in this race. But I think he has enough speed to at least get out a little bit and not get caught super wide the turn.
Meanwhile, Tom, with Rocketeer, Brad Cox puts blinkers on. What's the intent there, and what would you tell Tyler Gaffleone today?
Well, I mean, he's going to be close, if not on the lead, the 6-horse Rocketeer. His main challenger early in the race is going to be Digital Ops, the 2 horses. Those 2 horses leaving the gate, I have every bone in my body tells me Tyler Gaffleone that doesn't like to give up position is going to look over, see what the 2 is doing right out of the gate. If he can take advantage of it, he's going to try and make the lead.
Yeah, I agreed. But Digital Ops does have inside position. It'll be interesting to see if Flavien Prat seeds that advantage into the first
There's no question he's going to.
I don't see him. The 2's going to be in front? Or
I think so.
Oh, I think the 2's going to be in front when they get back.
Too.
I think the 6. Oh, you do? Okay, I'm sorry. It is interesting. Tyler Gaffleone, these are the same silks, the same owners, of course, as Carl Spackler, and that would be Tyler's father-in-law. So a little extra pressure for him.
Yeah, that was riding for the fam and coming through, but doing it here again. Had to feel good to get that Grade 1 win in the 4-star Dave with Carl Spackler. That was on Fox Saratoga Saturday. Just the other week, as they load up for this 8th from Saratoga. It is timeout from the outside post for Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott with Joel Rosario the favorite. There's Tyler Gaffleone on Rocketeer, riding for the fam again. Let's go to Frank Miramati for the call.
Thank you, Greg. Here's Game Warden coming up. And timeout, those legendary silks of Dill Schneider and Claiborne Farren. We saw them with Blaine. Here they are. They're in the gate. And they're off, and Digital Ops bounces out quicker than all and establishes the lead right away. Rocketeer comes after him with those blinkers on. Game Warden is 3rd on the far outside. Timeout is 4th through the early stages, 4 lengths off the lead. At the rail, D-Day Sky tries to move into a contending position, has 4 lengths to make up. The 2 trailers, Cartucho and Jackson Heights, is far back in the early going. There goes Rocketeer. And Rocketeer, with the pedal to the metal, goes through that quarter in 23 4 and quickly puts 4 lengths on Digital Ops, pulling Tyler Gaffleone out of the saddle. Now it's a 7-length lead suddenly, with Game Warden timeout outside of them in 4th. They're followed by D-Day Sky, Cartucho, and the distant trailer is Jackson Heights. 47-1, the pace has picked up noticeably. And it's Rocketeer with a huge lead, still about 8. At the rail, Digital Ops has his head right next to Game Wardens. They're stride for stride, timeout inches up outside of them, takes third now, coming to the 3/8 pole. Another 2 back to D-Day Sky. Cartucho is next. Jackson Heights has been far back the whole way, 1:11.3. The lead shrinking for Rocketeer as timeout makes his move, but Rocketeer has something left and goes on after a breather with a 1/4 mile to go. Rocketeer is the leader, timeout second. Game Warden in between them is now coming after Rocketeer as they come to the 8th pole. It's Rocketeer with a 2-length lead. Game Warden, timeout trying to get to him. Game Warden has good momentum between horses. He has collared Rocketeer. Timeout is lengthening, but Game Warden is in front. Game Warden or timeout. Here's the line. Game Warden, he is as sharp as a tack. Beating timeout. Digital Ops came back for third.
It's one of the 4-year-olds, the older horses in this group. Crossing the wire first, Game Warden for trainer Norm Cassie with Ricardo Santana Jr.
Game Warden was very game in between horses. It looked like at one point timeout was going to be able to kind of ride him up in behind Rocketeer, who ran off early in the race with Tyler Gaffleone, but when Ricardo Santana was able to secure that position around him, he went on to the wire. Older horse, had more wins than anybody else race, gets it done.
The older active in the frat house took it to the pledges. He hazed them.
He found a second wind as timeout had gone by him on the turn, and he found a second wind to re-rally to beat him.
So now to say that, it's interesting because when a horse runs off, as the leader did, Rocketeer, early, it puts everybody out of position.
Yeah.
And you could make a case that maybe timeout moved a little bit too soon, whereas with our older horse, Game Warden, to the inside, he made that move the winning one.
Maybe. I mean, he got outside of the 7. I don't know. Listen, Flying Peace horses have been running just incredibly the entire meet, and I think this is another example
10
of
wins
it.
now at the meet for these owners.
And for people that don't understand, Rocketeer with Tyler Gaffleone, he didn't want to open up that much down the backstretch. That was all the horse's idea. He grabbed the bit. They're a 1,000-pound animal, and he had other things on his mind. Tyler would have loved to have gotten him to relax a bit more.
In that situation, you just have to let the horse do what he wants.
At that point, you got to concede that you cannot win a tug of war with a 1,000-pound animal. Put your hands down and hope they come back to you.
And he ran great for a horse that put out a lot of energy early and didn't have a lot left. He still ran third. Look for blinkers off, OFF next time.
And I think Ricardo may have won this race on the first turn because he was insistent on making sure he kept timed out in the first turn. Timed out wanted to go, and he had that inside position on him, and while he was 3 wide, he made timed out go 4 wide and lose some valuable position. And you could argue that's maybe the moment that he won the race.
3 wins now in the last 4 starts. There's Jay Provenzano, Flying Peace Stable, and he is the leading owner at this Saratoga meeting right now. 10 times he's visited this winner circle at the toughest place there is to get there and get that picture taken. Game Warden, 4-year-old, on a roll right now. 2-time winner at this meet. Points at 5-1, 7-10, 6-2. It's the 4-year-old taking it to these 3-year-olds for the victory. Here in the 8th, still ahead, the story of a Saratoga native who's rapidly rising in the training ranks. We'll hear from Cherie DeVoe, who's sending out the favorite She Feels Pretty in today's Grade 2 Lake Placid. The former favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf seeks a second graded stakes score, and there is her filly, She Feels Pretty, getting set for her 3rd start of her 3-year-old season coming up. Nothing like it, having a few dollars on a horse as they come down in contention down the stretch here at the premier meet in the country, back on Fox Saratoga Saturday. And I think they had Game Warden.
Where are they sitting? I want to be with them.
Those coveted picnic tables. Game Warden holding off. Look, a game run from the 3-year-old timeout, but it's Game Warden's day here.
No doubt. And the older horse took it to the younger plebes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he beat him to the first turn, so it kept Timeout packed out 4 wide. Then he got to tuck in around the far turn while Timeout was making that grinding outside run, and then he was able to come back out in between horses, find a bit more air, and hold off a very game 3-year-old who feels to me like Timeout is still figuring this game out. He almost runs a little bit in stops and starts, like the emergency brake is on.
And his trainer, Bill Mott, who was interviewed by Acacia, basically said that in the paddock, that he's still trying to figure it out. And the Curlins, which he is the son of Curlin, they do take time to develop.
This one unable to run down. Game Warden, $12.60 for this 4-year-old. Wins for the 4th time in his career. And again, for the 3rd time in the last 4 starts, really has turned things around. One of sort of a short list to win 2 times at this meet. Again, it's Norm Cassidy, Ricardo Santana Jr., Flying P Stables. We move on to the Grade 2 Lake Placid, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. And She Feels Pretty, the favorite in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, opens up, Andy, as a 4-5 favorite.
Oh, a lot of people feel she should have won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. She did not have a good trip that day and ran extremely well. As we had mentioned earlier in the show, we'd had some rain earlier in the week, so there's give in the ground. There's not a firm turf course, and she appreciates that, so you know she's going to handle that well. And the fact is, she might just be better than the horses she's running against today, and that's why she's an overwhelming favorite.
And they took a shot, Tom, at a little bit longer distance last time out, and they feel maybe mile and a 16th a little more in her wheelhouse.
Yeah, and they didn't face any slouch. Cinderella's Dream came back and won the Saratoga Invitational and did it with authority. She Feels Pretty is a big-time horse.
Yeah, solid field, and I think the turn back in distance benefits her as well.
There she is, 3 wins, 5 career starts, and right now, an odds-on favorite. Success didn't come easy for her trainer, Cherie DeVoe, after going out on her own. In fact, it took almost an entire year to get her first victory. But fast forward to this year, and things are looking much brighter, including 3 stakes wins on Friday of Preakness weekend in Baltimore.
So I was born in Saratoga. Everyone wants to say you're from New York. I don't claim that. I like to say my formidable years were spent in Southwest Florida. My dad was a harness trainer, so I grew up in the harness racing industry. I used to be involved in bodybuilding and competing, and I got into thoroughbreds kind of by happenstance. I just needed a job and got a job as a hot walker, and then I thought I can ride them. So I wanted to be an exercise rider, so I started galloping at a farm. I got my first job for Chuck Simon, whose full circle first job was for my father on the harness track. He took me under his wing and gave me guidance and direction and really gave me the foundation. And when I outgrew the job, that's when I started working for Chad, and I worked for him for 8 years. Lady Eli and the situation she went through with the laminitis was something that was a really profound experience in my life. You just had to be patient and listen to her. I'd have to say that's one of the most special bonds I've had with a horse that I've worked with. My main takeaway from working with Chad was just a really big bank of knowledge to pursue the career that I have now. There's never going to be an opportune moment to say, this is when I'm going to go out on my own. And the one thing when I worked for Chad, that was my life, and I was happy to make it so, but really my personal life is what drove the change. I'd met my husband. My last day was on a Sunday. We got married on a Friday. And then I had announced that I was starting my business the same week. So there was a lot of change. Success did not come easy, and it took us quite a bit of time to gain traction. I started in 2018, and we got a little bit going, and then COVID hit. So it was 11 months. We had gotten really close a couple times, but that'll definitely test your character. The first graded stakes win was a filly named Gam's Mission. And then the first grade 1 that we won with She Feels Pretty, I had went to Churchill to saddle a horse, and I was sitting by myself with my earbuds and watching my iPad
But she feels pretty, careering away in the Johnny Wagner Dalma Stakes. She feels more than pretty. She feels fantastic.
But when she ranged up and went on by everyone, I just had to say, I just won my grade 1. I just won my first grade 1 and just didn't quite know what to do with myself. I can say that I'm really proud of how things have grown. I just don't have it in me to say, well, I'm successful, because I just still feel like there's so much more to do and so much I would like to achieve, but also trying to really enjoy where we're at now.
There's the filly. Cherie DeVaux will send out. Again, the 4-5 favorite. She feels pretty. There is Cherie. And Andy, I think anyone who's familiar with her expected her to be successful. It took a little bit of time, but now things are really starting to happen for her.
She was an integral part of a very, very successful training operation when she worked for Chad Brown and went on her own. It's always hard to get started, and obviously she's gotten more and more opportunity as time has gone by, but she's really having a breakout year. I mean, it's not as though she's come out of nowhere, but she's having a huge year, and it's great to see, and her horses have been running extremely well.
She also had a tremendous foundation before she even went to work with Chad Brown, working with harness horses with her family. And those people learn a work ethic that, we think we work hard. Go to the harness track and see how hard they work.
And to be elite as a trainer, not just good, but elite, you got to bring it every time. Cherie is bringing it every time this year.
And I'll give a shout out to Chuck Simon, who she worked for as well, and he deserves some credit in here as well.
Absolutely.
Well, Tom, her last start, she was a 4-5 favorite in the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks Invitational, and she winds up getting beat, not by much, but to a pretty talented filly who's now 6 for 7.
And she gets a little outfinished here, but I mean, that race really was a good credit to the horse and to the trainer.
Probably a little farther than her best, 1 mile and 3/16, the distance we saw in today's 7th race, but also very good horses, not just the winner of the race. We talked about Wayne Presley, Sagesta, a horse who finished second there for Juddmonte, a Chad Brown horse, extremely talented. She didn't run badly in losing. She ran extremely well in losing, to be honest.
18 minutes to post in this year's edition of the Lake Placid. Last year, trainer Chad Brown made it 3 straight Lake Placid victories as Esprit rolled to a 2-length win. Brown's going to have 3 chances at a 4th straight. When we come back, he'll send out Grayosh, Spaladay, and Dynamic Pricing next. Back on Fox Saratoga Saturday. Of course, Lake Placid just over 100 miles north of Saratoga Racecourse. Site of the 1980 Winter Olympics and the Miracle on Ice. The U.S. team comprised mostly of amateurs, beat the 4-time defending gold medalist and heavily favored Soviet Union team that was chock full of professionals, including at the time the best goaltender in the game. And then 2 days later would beat Finland to secure the gold. Named one of the top moments of the 20th century in sports by Sports Illustrated.
I wonder if people realize that they didn't win the gold by beating Russia, right?
A lot of people don't realize that.
Everybody knows. They had to go out and beat Finland, and thankfully they did.
I can remember that so vividly. I remember watching that game with my father when they beat Russia, and it was a replay, but we didn't know the result yet.
I listened to it on the radio, driving from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. I was just starting college. I was bringing my laundry back home to wash in New Orleans.
Well, Charlie Appleby and Godolphin, anytime they show up with all the success that he has had since he's come to the States here, he comes with intent and he wins big races. You got to pay attention. This is a look what he's done just at Saratoga this year. Grade 1 Manhattan, the Bowling Green, Saratoga Oaks. A quick call. Let's go to Acacia.
And the plan has definitely worked out for Charlie Appleby and his runners here in the States. Now, he's not with us in Saratoga today, but I did get a chance to catch up with assistant Alex Merriam overseeing a lot of the operation here at the spa for the summer. And he did tell me that the 11 Beautiful Love in here had a planned break after her 2 races in Dubai this winter and has been training really forwardly here in Saratoga in preparation for this race. I watched her recent works on XBTV, a little bit slow out of the gate, going solo last this time, but keeping pace with Naval Power, two works back. And before that, slightly second best to Cinderella's Dream, but understandable that one, the Belmont Oaks and Saratoga Oaks winner. A horse that doesn't get out of the gate that well, and he said that they're really looking forward to seeing how she runs in here today. Looking at her in the paddock, I would like to see a little bit more strength across her top line and in her hind end as well, but she is pretty sharp, so we'll see how Beautiful Love does for her stateside debut, but plenty of talented fillies that she'll have to face as well. Maggie, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Beautiful Love awfully wound up here in the paddock, Acacia, so maybe she'll need one to shake off that ring rust. But let's check in with your overwhelming favorite, and that is number 7. She Feels Pretty, and she's also just a very smart filly. She just kind of looks out over everybody. She handles getting tacked so beautifully. She's got those big ears that flick back and forth. She's very attentive to her handlers, to her surroundings, and that just always speaks of a good horse, a horse that possesses class. And while I thought that she might be able to handle the stretch out to the mile and 3/16, because she is such a long filly with a lot of scope to her frame, I guess cutting back in distance will suit her running style a bit more here in this Lake Placid, but all things very good for your favorite. Chad Brown will send out 3 in here, but the one that I've liked the most throughout is number 2, Grayosh. And I thought she ran well, albeit in defeat behind Proctor Street. Unfortunately, a mishap in training, so Proctor Street will miss this race. But Grayosh, I thought, kind of launched a wide move where Proctor Street got to save ground for a little bit longer than she did. And 2 in the paddock, Grayosh that day was a bit obstreperous to get the tack on, to say the least. They had to do her outside with the pony. Today, she's a lot more calm and focused and allowed them to get the tack on without any problems. Physically, she is very impressive and very eye-catching. Greg?
Which Chad Brown filly do you like? He has 3 of them. Grayosh, the 2, 8-1 on the board, Andy.
I think Grayosh has to improve the most of his 3 runners, but she did move a little bit early. I'm not knocking the ride, and a lot wider. And it seems like Tyler Gaffalione, who rode the winner, was actually waiting for Flavien Prat to move. It's kind of like Julie Cronin. They asked her, when do you move, Julie? She said, when Jerry moves. When she rode against Jerry Bailey, and he was waiting, but he saved more ground and followed this horse, and I think that's what got him the win. I thought that this horse ran well in defeat.
No doubt she got outfinished that day. Whether she moved too soon or not, that's debatable.
Tom being nice to jockeys? What's going on the set?
No, but I will say that the winner there was tucked in and had to wait for her to make the first move, so saving ground might have been the difference. I don't think that he moved too soon. I think he produced her at the right moment,
wider,
but maybe being wider.
No, I think that's fair.
One of the 3 in this race for Chad Brown. We mentioned he's won 3 in a row. He's also won 5 of the last 6, including with a couple of fillies who went on to become champions in Regal Glory and Rushing Fall. We see Chad Brown do this a lot, win with the biggest price when he has multiple horses in a race. He's done it the last couple of years in the Diana. And this one's 14-1. Spaladay, who's coming off a stakes win in Monmouth. Was it blinkers going on last time out? Was it a big change?
Maybe as far as getting through at the end of the race and keeping that momentum going, but she's last early in that race, saves all the ground, does have to come through an opening, and does it like a pro with the addition of blinkers.
You know, I liked her last effort. I thought it was a big step forward. I thought she had an upset chance in here. She's going to have to take another step forward, though.
I agreed. Listen, I was trying to find someone to try to beat the 7, She Feels Pretty. And the more I looked at it, I thought about going with the 10, Dynamic Pricing, because I thought she had a little bit of a compromised trip. And she's also an unusual filly, Dynamic Pricing. She takes more of a ride than the average filly, and I think Irad getting back aboard helps.
I agree with that. I think the real difference in her win at Churchill Downs over her one poor performance, Streback, was that she just got lost to the back of the pack in that race at Tampa, and Irad did a very good job of getting Dynamic Pricing into the race early so she could produce her move and win, and she had a bad trip to nowhere in the Belmont Oaks.
And Tom, that was a frequent scene we see with Chad Brown overhead. Here's the 3rd of his 3 fillies talking to multiple riders in a big race at this meet.
Yeah, it's amazing how Chad Brown's runners, and it's not unusual in big races for Chad to have more than one runner in it. They never seem to get in each other's way. They always have their own styles, and they seem to run their races.
He's a field general, and he's laying out the battle plan for them and making sure they don't get in each other's way.
I have trouble telling one rider what to do.
Even money favorite, it is She Feels Pretty. Let's go to Acacia.
Very happy to be joined by Roy Jackson, Lael Stables, as She Feels Pretty. First of all, I know that she is quite a special filly, giving Cherie her first Grade 1 win. What's the journey been like with this filly?
Oh, it's been great. You know, every year we try and buy a couple. We raise some too, but we try and buy a couple, and we bought her, and she's turned out to be a good horse.
She really has been good. She's been ultra consistent as well. What are the thoughts coming into this race? Getting a little bit less distance.
I just hope she runs her race and so forth. You never know, you know.
That's a good way to put it. And with Cherie being your trainer, as I mentioned, getting some success in your stable collars, what's it been like following her journey as well as she's come along?
Well, it's been fun to see her develop and grow and have success. I can't tell you exactly. We've been with her probably 3-4 years, something like that. So it's been fun to see her success and have some good horses.
I'm sure many more wins to come. Thanks for your time and best of luck.
Thank you.
Greg?
Of course, owner of the late Barbaro, we saw win the Kentucky Derby back in 2006, and now with a very talented 3-year-old filly who, Cherie DeVoe, Andy had said, seems like when she winds up in a battle with horses, she can get a little bit unfocused.
You know, I don't know. She's the trainer. I just think this horse has run well every time she's come to the racetrack, to be honest with you. And I can't fault any race she's ever run. To me, if she runs her last race, she runs her race 2 back, or she runs her Breeders' Cup filly, 2 of which she lost, she'll be the winner of this race.
And I was going to ask if you thought even money was too short, but everyone's taking She Feels Pretty, so I know the answer already.
I think it's the right price on her. I'm not saying I take 3 to 5, but I don't think it's the wrong price on her.
Of the 3 Chad Brown runners in the race, who do you feel is going to take that step forward?
I mean, I like the 5 at the price as a possible upsetter, but I think it's not even close. The dynamic pricing is clearly the second likeliest winner of this race.
Best resume, dynamic pricing, has run in the toughest races of any horse in this field, maybe except the favorite, the 7-horse She Feels Pretty. So certainly off-pass performance. The 10 for Chad Brown of the 3 horses is probably the one that's going to run the best.
You know, we talk about Mig, who She Feels Pretty got beat by last time out. Well, we'll get back to it. Beautiful Love was competitive against that same filly, Cinderella's Dream. We'll touch on that in a moment. Here's Grayosh, 1 of 3 for Chad Brown.
Yeah, Grayosh, 1 of 3. We talked about her last race, getting a little bit out finished, maybe an unlucky trip there.
Galabrand, she beat the boys back as a 2-year-old at this meet for Bill Mott.
But she just has not put it together so far as a 3-year-old. She'd have to refine that good form.
Di Regresso was a non-factor in the Lake George last start.
You know, despite winning 3 of the last 4, this is a horse that needs to improve.
Luis Saez will ride. Here's another of the Chad Brown fillies, Spaladay.
The best trainers get their horses to keep taking steps forward, and that's what I like about Spaladay. She is improving with every start.
Back to odds on. She Feels Pretty for Cherie DeVoe.
And we've talked about her ad infinitum. To me, there is no chink in her armor. She can be forward, she can be near the pace, and she's good.
Incredibly tough spot for the 8 Ori.
Ori, but I mean also the probable pace setter in this race.
Here's dynamic pricing, the 3rd of the 3 for Chad Brown.
And I think the one that has the best chance for Chad Brown, and again, probably has the best resume in terms of class she's faced.
And Beautiful Love, the Charlie Appleby Godolphin filly.
Yeah, this is a rare Godolphin horse that doesn't really getting bet that strongly here. She did finish behind her stablemate Cinderella's Dream, but she's obviously the lesser of those, a bit of an unknown.
5 to 1 right now. We're not used to seeing that from these connections. They get heavily bet with all the success that Charlie Appleby has had here in the States. Grade 2, Lake Placid, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, and She Feels Pretty, the 4 to 5 favorite when we come back. Back on Fox Saratoga Saturday. Grade 1 Alabama and the 3-year-old filly division still to come. Next, it's the Grade 2 Lake Placid presented by Caesars Sportsbook. 3-year-old fillies on the grass. And Mig, here's that Godolphin filly trained by Charlie Appleby. Everything he sends out, you have to pay attention. And 2 starts back, she wasn't far off her stablemate Cinderella's Dream, who's 6 for 7.
Now, you can look at this. She was beaten less than 3 lengths by Cinderella's Dream, where She Feels Pretty was beaten well, 3/4 of a length. But what worries me is the outside draw, empty space, and the fact that she's broken slowly. Even training here, she's broken slowly, and that post does her no favors. She's got to show me. Plus, she's got that breastplate. It's like for a narrower horse to keep their saddle in place. There are things that bother me.
Let's go back to Acacia with more on She Feels Pretty.
I'm going to take her here as my pick, Greg. I know that she's a
3 to
short
5
price,
is
but
a
I did
little
get a chance to speak to her regular rider, John Velasquez, the other day, and he said that while Cherie believes less distance is going to be the great equalizer, he said, I really think that she needs to be covered up. She ran very well on the outside last time, but he wants to try and get her in a spot where she can save some ground. Maggie?
Acacia taking a look at one of the other Chad Brown horses in here, Spaladay. We saw her break through at Monmouth in a stakes race with those blinkers on for the first time. And looking at her physically, she's done very well. She continues to get stronger. And while she had a perfect trip, in my estimation, I think it's always important to note when you see that market improvement with that equipment on. She has done nothing but impress me since watching her. I'm going to land on number 2 in here, Grayosh, because I have a little bit of a following with her. But let's circle back to the Godolphin filly, who continues to be wound up. She had to have a little bit of an adjustment with her equipment, and she was kept away from the rest of the horses because she just is very amped up, Greg.
Huge crowd here this afternoon, and with Beautiful Love, Tom, what does that mean, being amped up like that this close to the load?
You know what, you see it a lot with the overseas horses. All this is new to them, and going to the track's new, but I can't tell you how many times they get in the gate and they're completely focused. I don't see it as a negative as I do with the North American-based horses.
Grade 2, Lake Placid. We've seen a couple of fillies very recently for Chad Brown go on to become champions out of this race. Rushing Fall, Regal Glory. He's won 3 in a row, 5 of the last 6. There's Cherie DeVoe. She has the heavy favorite, trying to beat her former boss with She Feels Pretty, the 7. Former Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf favorite, back as a 2-year-old. Let's go upstairs to Frank Miramati for the call.
Beautiful Love will be the last one to load. She goes in, backs away. Assistant starters get a hold of her. They'll open the front of the gate to motivate Beautiful Love in there under Manny Franco. She goes in without issue. And they're off in the Lake Placid, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. And it's a very quick start for Ori. Ori goes right to the rail and takes over. De Regresso has good speed, and She Feels Pretty is under a nice hold, but up and near the pace, just 3.5 off them. Grayosh is down on the hedge. They are followed by Beautiful Love on the outside of Dynamic Pricing. It's 2 more lengths back to Galabrand, who is behind Beautiful Love at this point, and inside is Spaladay. 24-1 for the long shot leader, Ori. Ori has opened up 4 on De Regresso in second. Flavien Prat has a good hold of Grayosh in third. And the same can be said for Johnny V on She Feels Pretty, 7 lengths off the lead. Dynamic Pricing has been guided to the outside. She's right next to Beautiful Love, heading toward the half-mile pole. Spaladay and Galabrand, 49-3 for the half mile. And the lead still belongs to Ori, who's pursued by De Regresso into the far turn. Grayosh yet to be asked in third, followed by She Feels Pretty, the heavy favorite, now called on, makes her 3 wide bid, takes the third spot around the far turn. Behind them, Dynamic Pricing and Beautiful Love racing 2 lengths in front of Spaladay and Galabrand. They're at the top of the stretch, and Ori is still there. 2-length lead. Grayosh gets off the inside, but She Feels Pretty is closing stoutly. She Feels Pretty. Grayosh has her head right next to She Feels Pretty, and in behind them they've got a pair chasing very gamely. Dynamic Pricing is also getting involved, but it comes down to Grayosh and She Feels Pretty, and Grayosh prevails in the Lake Placid, presented by Caesars Sportsbook over She Feels Pretty. They put on a show through the final 1/8 of a mile.
Grayosh, She Feels Pretty, neck and neck down the stretch, and this one goes to Grayosh, 4 in a row in the Lake Placid for Chad Brown.
That was a horse race, my friends. Ori set the pace, the 8 horse, and who made the first move? She Feels Pretty, and when she did it, you could noticeably see her quicken. It looked like it was her race to win. And Grayo slips in between horses and takes her on, and when the favorite, She Feels Pretty, sees her, they fight to the wire. Grayo's the best today.
This is the Flavien Prat that was leading this colony a couple of weeks ago. He'd been on a bit of a bad run. This was a very, very good ride. She Feels Pretty ran a race. Grayo's just beat her, Richie.
No, I like the way here you see Flavien. He allowed his filly to run out of the gate. He's checking to his right, checking to his right. Who's going to go on? But he got his position going forward in that turn. Now he gets to save all that ground from post 1. And the 7, She Feels Pretty, got a good position. When you're the favorite and you're in this position, you got to be feeling good about things. But it does feel like when she's in the clear too long, and I'm going to go back to what they said, needing to be covered, that she loses interest a little bit.
Well, think about it. You could see her quicken, right?
Yeah.
And you thought that was it. It's over. But I didn't see that quickening move continue like it always does with other horses.
I mean, to be fair, and I'm not taking anything away from the winner had a slightly better trip than She Feels Pretty. On the other hand, She Feels Pretty is 3 to 5 in this race. She's supposed to be able to win with a less good trip than the 2. So while if you want to tell me absolutely who ran the best race, maybe it was the 7. But it doesn't matter. The 2 beat her fair and square in this race, and She Feels Pretty was disappointing for a horse that was as heavy a favorite as she was.
Grayo at 7 to 1. Let's go to Maggie on horseback.
A masterclass ride by none other than Flavien Prat. Flavien taking full advantage of that inside post position. You saved every inch of ground.
Yeah, we had a good draw, so like you said, we took advantage of it. She was traveling super and made a big run when it was time to go.
And Flavien, a horse that, she was kind of forced to move wide last time. Were you a little disappointed that you weren't able to get the win with her?
Well, she gave me a really good turn of foot last time. And the last, not even 16 of a mile, she flanked out a bit. But with the race under our belt, it was a different story today.
Flavien, congratulations here.
Thank you.
All right, Grayo giving Chad Brown another winner. Keisha?
I'm not ready. I don't have him. No.
So Grayo with the victory, 10th stakes win, Mig, at the meet for this rider right here, Flavien Prat.
Sometimes you win races just because you're on the best horse, and then sometimes you have a huge hand in that victory. This was one of those. Flavien Prat made all the right moves and was a huge component in this victory.
There's no question about it. I mean, his coming to New York had a lot to do with riding so much for Chad Brown and Chad's confidence in him and giving him mounts. And in this case, he really delivered for him on this horse.
Would you call him Chad's #1 rider, or do you think Chad spreads it out so much it's hard to say?
But there's argument, between he and I. Ira Ortiz has ridden a lot of horses for other trainers in situations, so you could argue that maybe he is at this point.
He's creeping up there, if not, right?
He rode dynamic pricing last time. I know there's more into that than him picking this horse over dynamic pricing, who was 3rd, but, he did ride that horse last time.
Grayo with the upset score, 4th in a row for Chad Brown in the Grade 2. Lake Placid still ahead. Don't ever be afraid to dream big. This brother and sister team, they certainly weren't. And here they are, living out that dream in today's Alabama. We'll have their incredible story with their filly, Just Basking, as we get set for the Grade 1 Alabama next on Fox Saratoga Saturday.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got them. Huge payouts? You bet. With NYRA Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with NYRA Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NYRABets.com.
Back with you on our Fox Saratoga Saturday coverage. And the entrance to historic Congress Park. That's where you turn, head down Union Avenue, and you can walk right down to the racetrack here in Saratoga Springs. We just saw a thrilling stretch duel in the Grade 2 Lake Placid. Grayo out dueling She Feels Pretty as Chad Brown again wins this race, 4th year in a row.
Nothing finer than watching 2 riders put their skills to work. Flavien Prat, the young up-and-comer, and the old veteran, Johnny Velasquez on his outside.
Should also be noted that Chad Brown ran 1-3-4 in this race as well. All three of his horses ran extremely well.
Our winner's circle lead-in brought to you by the Fasig Tipton November sale, the world's premier breeding stock. Sell your star on November 4th after Breeders' Cup. So Grayosh getting the first graded stakes win of her career here in this Grade 2 Lake Placid, and paying $17.60 in the process.
A very game effort, terrific trip, got to save all that ground. Shows you trips in turf racing, saving ground so important. And you have Johnny Velasquez on the outside on your favorite, a Hall of Famer, and Flavien Prat, a shoe-in Hall of Famer eventually.
Let's go to Acacia.
We might have seen these Flanagan Racing Silks in the winner's circle quite a bit, and happy to be joined by Sean Flanagan as Grayosh gets the victory, able to turn the tables after a tough defeat last time.
Yeah, it was a tough race last time, but she ran really well. She's a tough cookie. She always kind of, everybody was asking, can she do it? I said, I don't know, but she's going to stick her face in there and, and try. And, oh my God, when they halfway down the stretch, I have no voice anymore. It's just, and just a lot of thanks to my connections. Jeff Macker picked this horse out for me a couple years ago down in Kentucky at the yearling sale. And Chad has just brought this horse along so nicely. Every single week, or every race, she just continues to improve. And I don't know, today, I don't know. This was just beyond my expectations, and to beat that really good favorite, I really didn't think we had much of a shot against her, but like I said, she's tough.
Your energy is just absolutely infectious, and we've seen you invest quite a bit at the two-year-old sales, yearling sales, but winning your greatest stake at Saratoga, what is this feeling like?
It's unimaginable to me. I mean, my heart is racing right now. People ask me, do you get nervous? I said, no. I got nervous with another 2-year-old of mine earlier in the year, and I was homesick with COVID, but I didn't really expect these results. And, to do this on this stage, it's unbelievable to me. It's so much fun. I'm surrounded with a lot of friends and family and stuff, and it's just a cool deal.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Massive congratulations.
Thank you so much, Acacia. Thank you.
Greg?
Chancellor McPatrick.
So Grayosh with the upset score. Take a look at what Chad Brown has now done in this Lake Placid 4 years in a row. Just incredible. 6 of the last 7 runnings he has won.
It's an pretty impressive list, including Regal Glory and Rushing Falls especially in there. It should be noted that this owner of Flanagan Racing, Chancellor McPatrick, that he teamed up with Chad Brown with, has been one of the most impressive 2-year-old winners of the meet so far this year. I don't know if we'll see him in the hopeful or not, but that's a good-looking 2-year-old.
And how about the purchase price here, Mig? You don't need to spend a ton of money to get very good horses, do you?
This was a graduate of the Fasig Tipton October sale in Lexington for $25,000. And here she is now, a graded stakes winner, and her value has gone up considerably.
Main event is next. The Alabama Stakes, presented by Keeneland Sales. The only race in the sport on the dirt at 1.25 miles for 3-year-old fillies. And Candied, 3-2 favorite, one of 2 in the race. There she is for Todd Pletcher. She played second fiddle to the leader of this division, Torpedo Anna, in that Coaching Club American Oaks performance. A distant second to her. Tom, deserving favorite?
Oh, deserving favorite, yes. But 3-2, not so much.
I mean, she's a 7-5 on the line. I agree with you, Tom. I understand why she's favored, and she should be the favorite in the race. But I think there's just so many unknowns here as far as the distance. Horses that may improve with it. She may not be better with that more distance. And to take her at a short price is probably a bad gamble.
Looking at her second right there to the leader of the division, the leader by a long mile, in Torpedo Anna, who's going to run next week in our Travers Stakes.
Short price on Candied. Manny Franco will be aboard. Already a Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old. We'll try and add one now as a 3-year-old. Manny Franco, he's got the mount on Candied as he looks for his biggest win since the Travers in 2020. Javier Castellano, he's a 2-time winner of this race. He's on the only filly. Well, she's won 5 of her last 7. He only lost his 2 Torpedo Ano, and that man right there, can he add an 11th stake? Flavian Pratt will be back. Saratoga Saturday. Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher's going to try and win a 5th. His first came with Princess of Sylmar back in 2013. Out of the Kentucky Oaks as well. Coaching Club American Oaks out of the Beldame. Stopped Charging Maria. Won the Coaching Club American Oaks as well before that Alabama victory. Malathot, the Kentucky Oaks winner, champion at 3-4. Nest would become a champion, including a campaign that she had a second against the boys in the Belmont. A lot of success in this race. There he is. He will send out 2 contenders trying to win a 5th in Miss Justify, who will go beyond a mile for the first time, and in the current 8-5 favorite, Candied Manny Franco will ride. Meanwhile, Just Basking, the 4 filly for trainer Ian Wilkes at 5-1, comes in off a victory at Prairie Meadows against lesser competition, but she was impressive in the process. Keep in mind, she did break her maiden at this distance as well, at a 1.25 miles. And this is Just Basking, back on the farm, an Arrogate filly, out of the dam, Spanish Star. We'll tell you why that's important here in just a moment. Well, we love to see greatness on the racetrack, but we also love a good underdog story. And make no mistake, the owner breeders of the filly Just Basking are David going against the Goliaths. Brother and sister Andrew Schwartz and Wendy Gilder set a very ambitious goal for themselves, and in today's Alabama, that goal remarkably will be realized.
I don't think I've slept in 3 days, so I'm probably not going to give the best interview right now. Andrew Schwartz.
Wendy Schwartz Gilder.
My sister.
And this is the Gilder Schwartz farm completely.
Yeah.
1, 2.
This is it. I do all the work and Wendy has all the fun.
I knew he was going to say that.
We grew up not too far from the fairgrounds and we always had horses. Wendy's always been a more accomplished rider.
Yeah, we won't talk about your riding skills, but I didn't really stumble into the racetrack until my 30s. Called my brother and I said, oh my God, this is amazing, and fell in love with it. So now we've enjoyed it together.
When Wendy and I first talked about what our partnership was going to be, the decision was we're going to breed, but we're only going to race the fillies. And then our goal is very specific, is one day to have one of those fillies win the Alabama. We've only been breeding since 2017, and we've only brought 2 horses to the track. Our first one, well, she got second once in a $5,000 claimer. And our second horse is a start in the Alabama. So I think we're moving up fairly quickly.
That was Andrew's goal. Let's do this and have some fun. So I'm pretty sure we're doing it.
We want to be able to get into the graded stakes arena, but at a budget. Not exactly the greatest combination, so we can't just go out and buy, you know, the horse who's going to win the Alabama this year. We sat down and we said, well, let's really go for physical. I mean, we're a small operation. We never want more than 10 mares. We have 4 right now. Just Basking's mare, which is Spanish Star. She was in foaled to Narragate, probably the prettiest horse I've ever seen come up for auction, but never been to the racetrack. So that was the strategy, and so far it's obviously paid off. Just Basking's move in her maiden race at Churchill at 1.25 miles was something special.
Just Basking was too good tonight.
After she broke her maiden at Churchill, we started getting the phone calls, would we consider selling her? So I said, hell no. No way. So he's like, okay, good, because I didn't want to sell her either. Yeah. So.
Just Basking 4 wide and coming with her run. Tear it away, JB! Put it away! Just Basking sweeps on by to take over the lead.
After we won the race, Ian calls, and obviously we have to make a decision what we're going to do next. And no one would say it.
No one wanted to say it out loud.
No one to say it out loud.
But everyone was thinking the same thing.
And Ian finally says, I think we should go to New York. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really going to happen.
That's the special you are. Andrew said he wanted to have a starter in the Alabama. So
I guess we're
You've
done.
done it.
I guess we're done. Bye.
And there she is, just a remarkable story. Tom, if anyone had heard about their goal from this brother and sister, they probably would have said that is crazy. Now their second horse they've raced. Here they are in the Alabama.
I'm sure to their face they would have said best of luck, and then they would have turned around and made a face. But they've done it, and I think it's awesome. I mean, you can see the passion in ownership from those two right there. It sends chills in my spine. I think about the really good ones I've had and the ones I get attached to. It's awesome.
Let's go to Acacia with a special guest.
That's right, as this is the Alabama presented by Keeneland Sales, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Cormac Branagh, the Senior Director of Sales Operations for Keeneland. And Cormac, we see some nice Keeneland grads in this Grade 1 Alabama.
We do. There are 4 in today's race that came out of our September sale 2 years ago. There's 6 in here with siblings selling and catalog to sell next month with us in September. So, you know, whatever happens here on the track, there'll be breeders and sellers glued to the television here, hoping for the best outcome.
You mentioned the September sale, kind of the marquee yearling sale that people circle on their calendar. Tell us when it's coming up and some of the things people can look forward to.
Sure, it's a 12-day sale. It starts on September 9th, Monday to September 9th. We have 4,400 yearlings catalogued, which is a massive number, but not something we're not used to. So we're really excited about the sale. We have so much quality. This time of year, you're getting to see graduates of previous sales do so well, like Arthur's Ride and Dornoch, and you know, Showcase, who looks like such a good 2-year-old, was bought just last year, and so it's exciting to see people get quick return on their investments, want to come back and reload, and the vibes here from the weekend in Saratoga are excellent.
Keeping the dream alive. Well, thank you for Keeneland's support and for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Greg?
13 minutes to post. Thank you, Acacia, in this 1.25 mile Grade 1 Alabama. That is right there, Intricate, the only filly to beat the queen, Torpedo Anna. That was back as a 2-year-old. We'll see if she can step up again. Let's go to Maggie.
Yeah, we'll check in with some new faces here, Greg, at least when it comes to the NYRA circuit, beginning with number 2, Chatalis, for trainer Mark Glatt, as she's coming off the back of a hard-fought win in the Indiana Oaks, and she did all of that on the front end. A horse that projects to be at least fairly forward here. We'll see what we get from another horse like Miss Justify, who I think is the speed. So it's not going to be a walk in the park yet again for Chatalis. She's actually incredibly laid back here pre-race. Almost wondering if we need to wake her up a little bit once we get out on the track, but she's a big-bodied filly, impressive physically as she wears very small short cut blinkers and that shadow roll, but I like what I'm seeing from her, at least physically. I'll pay close attention to how they warm her up and where they might be thinking of placing her during the early stages of this Alabama. Now, number 4, Just Basking, as we heard a wonderful story about her and her owners, Andrew Schwartz and Wendy Gilder, but this is a very tiny daughter of Arrogate. And I will admit, when Arrogate showed up here several years ago for the Travers, I wasn't necessarily impressed with him. So it's kind of that same type of look that we see from Just Basking, but she looks like him, which I always find is a good thing, in that she's well put together, very proportionate overall, incredibly fit, as she has had a steady diet of races throughout this 3-year-old campaign. She is the lone runner, though, Greg, that has won at this distance.
Maggie, thanks. That was a look at Andrew Schwartz, owner, breeder of this filly right here, Just Basking. The nerves, he seems pretty calm, certainly seemed calm in that feature, living out a dream right now. Tom, you have a $50 play coming up. How are you going to use it?
Oh, I like this 4-horse, Just Basking. She is made to run this distance of 1.25 miles. She's going to lay back. Don't get nervous. She'll lay back, and then she's going to make a big run at the end of the race. And we're going to bet 25 to win and 25 to place. If she runs second, we cash one bet. But if she runs first, we cash both bets.
5-1 right now. Chris Landeros, who was here a few summers ago, back into ride. And Tom, is for the 2, Chatalis, 11-1, wins off a lengthy layoff at Horseshoe Indy. Lesser competition, but still a graded stakes win. She's stabled in your barn. What can you tell us about her?
So we've had her for about 2 weeks. We've had a chance to breeze her over the track. She got over the track very, very well. It was just a maintenance work where we just kind of let her go around there on her own power, and she did very, very well. She's taken to the track well, and she's also acclimated to Saratoga very well.
And her performance, Andy, she was down on the inside. She actually got past and fought back to win that race off a long layoff.
No, she was game to win that race. There's no question about it, as you say, off the layoff, in probably the best race that she ever ran. Now, the favorite Impel did not run particularly well, but it's a promising effort to move forward. She'll have to move forward to win here, but if you like her, 11-to-1's a fair price. I think horses like the 1 and 2 are overlays in relative terms, especially compared to the horse Tom likes.
You can put a $50 play on this race as well. Get signed up with the official betting app of Saratoga, NYRA Bets. Use the promo code GET50 and get that free play. Go to NYRABets.com/get50 for that promotion. As we get set for our post parade, horses coming down Champions Way for one of the most prestigious events there is, certainly in the 3-year-old filly division, Mig, but really in the sport.
Oh, absolutely. You get the Kentucky Oaks and the Alabama, and this one being the only one going 1.25 miles. My mind is just like Tom's. I like the 4 Just Basking. Her pedigree says the 10 furlongs, and she's already accomplished it once.
Kick off our post parade with Intricate, again, the only filly to beat Torpedo Anna, trained by Brendan Walsh.
Put up or shut up day for her. She has not shown the same kind of ability as a 3-year-old that she hinted at as a 2-year-old. But today, at this price, I think she's a very fair price.
The filly we just talked about, stabled in Tom's barn, Chitalis.
Yeah, she's a laid-back customer. I see her on her toes here. She knows it's game time.
Power Squeeze. She was third to Torpedo Anna, the Grade 1 Acorn.
I think she's a very good price at 5-to-1 right now. She seems to show up and run every single time, and her Acorn was an excellent effort.
Here's the Andrew Schwartz and Wendy Gilder bred Just Basking.
Look for her to lay back early and try to make a big run at the end.
It's a big jump for America's Val, but a barn who's had a good meet.
And it was a weird race where there were some incidents in there, but I shouldn't take away from how well she ran, but she'll need to take another step forward.
2 fillies for Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher right next door to each other. Here's Miss Justified.
I think this is the one that goes to the front and shows the pace early.
Her stablemate right next door, 2-to-1 now on Candide.
Yeah, the public has some reservations as she drifts higher than her morning line. I have those same reservations, but I still think it's fair to say she's the horse to beat.
And a long shot outside, who is the only other one to win it 1.25 miles.
Yeah, but only 3 starts, 2 of which were wins. She's just kind of getting her footing and understanding of racing. This is a horse that could jump up and run well.
Could it be a massive long shot in the Alabama? Let's go to Acacia.
We've seen him pull some upsets in big graded stakes, and that's trainer Tim Ham, who sends out America's Vow. Tim, obviously taking a step forward here, but what have you seen from her to give you the confidence?
She's doing great up here at Saratoga. She has a win over the track. The distance should be in her favor, and we have nothing to lose.
You mentioned the distance. She's a big, imposing filly.
She is, and she's never backed up in a race. Even in her races where she didn't finish as well, she was still running at the end.
Running at the end, what kind of trip do you expect her to pull today?
I'm going to let Junior decide. Depending on the pace, she could be fairly forward or back. I told him that's the instructions I give him. She should be running at the end, so put her where you think she should be.
Thanks for the time, Tim.
Thank you.
Greg?
She was competitive against Power Squeeze at one time in her career. Power Squeeze at 7-2 on the board. Who will drape this Alabama flower blanket over their shoulders? We're going to find out just about 6 minutes. Those red and white carnations, and that trophy will be handed out with a Grade 1 Alabama right after this. Back on Fox, Saratoga Saturday, Grade 1 Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. Just 5 minutes away. Favorite is Candide for Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher. 1.25 mile distance, incredibly rare for 3-year-old fillies to go this distance. And so it's really a question for all of them in here as we take a look at Intricate.
We were having a discussion in the set during the commercial break about the odds of some horses, and we thought maybe the 3 Power Squeeze was a bit of an overlay. I found this race to be extremely difficult to handicap. And one of the reasons is the 1.25 mile distance. It's just unknown territory. I know the 4 and 8 have done it, but they didn't do it that quickly that I love their chances, though they could certainly win. And I thought, I looked through and thought Intricate was so good last year. She ran very well in her first start this year, and she hasn't gotten back to it. But she's third off a layoff now, and this is the day for her to put up or shut up. And while I don't love her chances, I think at 8-1, she's a good bet in here. So I bet on the number 1 Intricate.
Brendan Walsh felt distance would not be a problem for her. We will find out. Meanwhile, Miss Justify, good place to be, Mig, can be in front. Is that where you expect to see her?
She's tactical, and I do think she'll be in front here, particularly stretching to the 1.25 miles. But if somebody wanted to go like the 2 Shadowless, she could follow.
Do you think, though, her best chance to win this race is on front or rating?
If I was riding her, she'd be in front because I do think that would be her best chance to win.
And this is a one-turn, or excuse me, this is a middle-distance race here. She's never been a real two-turn race yet, Miss Justify, and it looks like she's one that would enjoy it.
With more on Intricate, let's go to Maggie on horseback.
Yeah, talking a little bit about warm-ups here, Greg. Intricate, like Tyler, like Brendan Walsh said, they're going to get her more involved early. And Tyler took her away from the pony, gave her a big warm-up. And Tyler also said to me in a previous interview that he thinks she's put on weight. Well, I concur. She looks stronger behind. She's just more rounded out through her barrel. This is the time that Intricate could step up and take a grade 1 field like this. She doesn't have to deal with Torpedo Anna, but again, no, she has handled her before. Too, she's built like a horse that should handle this 1.25 mile distance. Now, Power Squeeze on form, I had some interest in because without Torpedo Anna in a race, she's undefeated going a route of ground, including her last win in the Grade 3 Delaware Oaks. I just wish she looked better. She's a little bit more tucked up than I'd like to see. I wish she had a little bit more energy out on the racetrack. And guys, when we're talking about the speed, Miss Justify was really, really wound up in the paddock. She's since calmed down a bit here on the racetrack, Acacia, but she's at least acting like she's going to go forward from the start.
I could not agree more, Maggie. And we'll see what kind of pace we get in this Alabama, but I'm picking Just Basking, and it's going against everything that I normally look for because physically, just by looking at her, she does not physically strike you as the horse that wants to go the 1.25 miles. But I've been around progeny of Arrogate, and they just extend themselves and flourish over the longer distances. She has a lovely stride to her, and that's what I've noticed about her. And while she may be little, Greg, she is fierce. She got a little bit more energetic going out onto the track, which I appreciate, and hopefully she can do what she's done before, and that's handle this distance.
We keep talking, thank you, Acacia, about Miss Justify being out in front. Let's not forget Chitalis, the 2, and there's Andrew Schwartz, breeder, owner of Just Basking. What a moment for him, just his second horse to get in this Alabama. But back to Chitalis, she had sprint speed out on the West Coast at Del Mar in her 2-year-old campaign.
That's fair to say, and I'm not saying, a lot of it has to do with how riders ride. I think the 6 is naturally faster. But I think I look at the 2 riders, and you guys should feel free to disagree. Flavien Prat is very comfortable being aggressive and staying in the front. I don't see Frankie Dettori being as aggressive. So I think from a rider's standpoint, it's more likely that Flavien Prat will throw it down than Frankie Dettori.
And to add to that, so for the 2 horse, they say at the barn, trainer Mark Glatt and also Grant Forrester, who trained her for a bit of time, they've said that she waits on horses. So they may be well satisfied to let Miss Justify go to the lead and sit off of her. I think that's what you're going to see the race unfold like based on what the trainer wants to do.
Coming up, of course, next Saturday, that showdown of the summer, the DraftKings Travers, with the best 3-year-old filly in the land taking on the boys. There's Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher. His fierceness will line up. The Jim Dandy winner in that race next weekend, but he's focused squarely on this race coming up with 2 chances to get a 5th Alabama win, including Candied right there on your screen.
And it would be nice redemption for Manny Franco, who had been the regular rider of Randomized, who won it last year, replaced in the race before it by Joel Rosario. So obviously a little frustrating for him, and to win it here would really be a nice moment it would be a nice moment regardless of that, but I think that would even add to it for Manny, Richie.
Absolutely, and for Todd Pletcher, it would be his 5th Alabama. Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons has the record with 8, but Todd's got plenty of time to train horses that he could catch up, and Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, born in the same neighborhood I was.
That's his dad right next to him, his teacher, and J.J. Pletcher.
Yeah, great horseman.
With the hat on.
Great horseman.
Yeah, he messed with me once when I was a hot walker just coming to the track. We still tease me about it.
It's accomplished so much in this sport. Again, a look at Andrew Schwartz. Again, his filly Just Basking. Complete that dream as we get set for the Grade 1 Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales here on our Fox Saratoga Saturday coverage. Who will take advantage with the absence of Torpedo Anna, who's going to take on the boys next weekend in the Travers? We are set. Let's go upstairs to Frank Miramati for the call.
Neon Icon, the last one to load. They're in the gate. And they're off in the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales, and Chitalis sprints out of the gate and quickly opens up a couple. Miss Justify has good early speed. Candid came away in good order. America's Vow inside of her. And here's Neon Icon to put more pressure on the front runners. Just in behind them comes Intricate. She is right next to America's Vow. Power Squeeze is second to last, and Just Basking is at the back of the field. They're covered by 8. The opening quarter went in 23 1/5 seconds. Frankie Dettori with the pedal to the metal on Chitalis. Leads it by 3 lengths. In second is Miss Justify as they swing on to the backstretch, and Intricate is down at the rail in third. Neon Icon right next to America's Vow. They're side by side, and 2 lengths in front of Candid, who is biding her time, 7 lengths off the lead. Another 2 back to Power Squeeze, who's 4 in front of Just Basking. The half in 47 seconds flat. It's Chitalis bounding along on the front end. 2-length lead on Miss Justify, who's trying to get closer in second. Intricate continues to hug the rail in third. She's followed by America's Vow, Neon Icon, Manny Franco, and Candid. Now there goes Candid on the outside. She's making her move, coming to the 3/8 pole. Within 4 lengths of the lead, she's coming widest of all, passing horses one by one. Power Squeeze has 7 to make up, and at the back, Just Basking. 3/4 in 1:11 4/5 seconds. They're a quarter of a mile from home. Chitalis has been there throughout. Candid revving up on the outside, coming to her, and Chitalis just drifted out, bumping with Miss Justify. Miss Justify and Candid are head and head coming to the 8 pole, and Power Squeeze is finishing with a flourish in the middle of the track. Outside of her, Just Basking. It's Candid, Power Squeeze. Candid head and head with Power Squeeze. Power Squeeze on the outside, and Candid in an absolute ding-dong battle. Photo finish. It's too close to call in the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. Power Squeeze and Candid hit the wire together.
Too close to call. Power Squeeze the 3, Candid the 7 in a photo finish.
In a roughly run stretch drive, it appeared that the 2 Chitalis came out, affected a few horses to her outside and a few behind her as well. We'll get a look at that, but this is a ding-dong stretch battle. Power Squeeze, Javier Castellano, he knows his way around 1.25 miles, 10 furlongs at Saratoga. Candid fought all the way down to the wire, made a long extended wide run, guys. And whose nose is down? It is Power Squeeze.
And I'll tell you something. Power Squeeze ran very well. She got a little shuffled on the turn, lost some position. But when you look at this race and you look at it early, 7th, Power Squeeze. 8, Just Basking. Candid made the first move. These 2 horses made the last move. Candid's an unlucky loser, but Power Squeeze ran very well.
And they lit it up early in this race. They were flying early in this race. We talked about what we thought the pace would be. There were a lot of early challengers that wanted to be close.
And I think that's why the 2 was drifting in the stretch, as Richie pointed out.
Watch the 2 horse here. She's going to come out, or did it already happen? No, it already happened, guys. It was further back up in the stretch. But Candid hits the front after that elongated drive from the half-mile pole. Manny Franco put her out in the lead. Here comes Power Squeeze. Looked like Just Basking had dead aim, but kind of swung out really wide when all that traffic happened in front of her.
One more look, which we'll get to in just a moment. First, let's go to Maggie.
Javier Castellano, who gets his 3rd Grade 1 Alabama win. And Javi, without Torpedo Anna in a race, this girl's undefeated as she gets her 6th win. She is as gutsy as they come.
Absolutely, I say Torpedo Anna, she ended up to change his mind, go to the different play. I like it in my way she did it, open mind, very behavior. I like the way she did in the Delaware Oaks. She's a fighter, and I like the way she did it today. Feeling really strong. I knew it's gonna be high pace, and she's gonna come from behind. She got the jump of all the horses to her. Well,
I was gonna say, it looks as though she handled the 1.25 mile distance just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a very grande horse. She developed herself. She broke well out of the gate, but she can keep up the pace in the beginning of the race. I like the way she did it. I know he was high pace. I tried to keep track of the horses, but I step up outside and let him run. And he can go, and she's past the wire. She galloping now steady, strong to well.
Javier, congratulations on another Grade 1 here at Saratoga. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Acacia.
And I'm here with winning trainer Jorge Delgado. Your first Grade 1 victory and doing it in a race like the Alabama here at Saratoga. What are the emotions like?
Honestly, I feel it's my second one. My first one was New York Thunder last year, and that's why I feel like so emotional. Like last year, so many things happened. They put too much pressure on me from everywhere. I almost got forced to retire from many, many angles. And, you know, it's the horses that brought me back and the horses that helped me. And owners like Bill Cosgrove that when the times were dark, he chose to support me stronger and to put all his support in his back for me. So I'm so grateful for this filly. It's all about them and I'm very happy. Like it's so like a year ago I was crying here and now I'm crying for joy. Thank you.
Well said. Congratulations. Greg?
Power Squeeze steps up in one of the big races there is certainly in the sport, and no question in this 3-year-old filly division. Third win in this race for Javier Castellano. And Power Squeeze, guys, 6 straight wins when she has not gone up against Torpedo Anna.
And you know, I hear sometimes people complain, my horse gets no respect. This horse is kind of the Rodney Dangerfield of this division. She never gets any respect. She's 6-1 in this race, despite the fact that she's run as well, if not better than anybody on numerous occasions. This is a horse that may finally get the respect that she deserves with this Grade 1 win in the prestigious Alabama.
She was affected a bit by that contact that was initiated by the 2-horse Chitalis under Frankie Dettori, but Candy took more of the brunt of that bump.
Cheers to the breeder. Brought to you by 3 Chimneys, Forging Oaks Farm. Bred this daughter of Union Rags. And Power Squeeze. What a moment. She went into that Kentucky Oaks on quite a roll, and there just was no match for Torpedo Anna. But now she gets her big moment.
Yeah, no, this has got to be exciting for Javier, obviously, to win another Grade 1 on a Saturday at Saratoga and another Alabama. And also this horse, she's really knocked heads in some of the biggest races, toughest races, run big races, and to get it done in a race like the Alabama, it's just huge for her.
Well, Frankie Dettori tried to steal this race on the front end, and then some bumping, Mig, with Miss Justify.
Keep an eye right here. Comes out, eliminates the 6-horse, Miss Justify completely, and also affected the 7 Candied, I think, more. Even though it did affect the winner a bit, I think Candy took more of the brunt of that.
Just got a little bit tired there.
Tired horse, you're trying to get them to engage, big step out. It's hard to always quantify how much it affects a particular horse. You're running along, it's like getting punched in the stomach.
Power Squeeze gets the first Grade 1 win of her career in a thrilling stretch duel, getting by the favorite, the Grade 1 Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. We'll be right back.
I blame Tommy Chuber.
Back with you on our Fox Saratoga Saturday coverage. A look head on down the stretch at this battle between Power Squeeze and Candy. That's how close it was in the end, just about ahead as Power Squeeze collects the first Grade 1 win of her career. And for trainer Jorge Delgado, as you look at the prices, came here in 2013 from Venezuela and started his first horse just a few years ago in 2017. Take a look at what's to come next Saturday. Probables for the DraftKings Travers and the Super Filly. Torpedo Anna taking on the boys, guys.
It's going to be interesting, going to be exciting. I can't wait to see it. I think she can handle the challenge. It's going to be a fun race. We've got the best of the division, and I'm wearing pink, boys.
She'll be one of the top-tier horses in the race. No more than 5-1 for sure.
It was Greosh in the Lake Placid, 4th straight win for Chad Brown. He's won 6 of the last 7 runnings of that race. And Power Squeeze, now 6 straight wins when she hasn't had to face Torpedo Anna. She collects the first Grade 1 win of her career. We'll see you next Saturday for the Travers.